Shiva Prasad Reddy, our chairman, to briefly give his welcome remarks, please.
Good evening to all of you. A very warm welcome to all the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, esteemed speakers, industry representatives. I am Shiva Prasad Reddy, Chairman, CII Telangana. We are happy to convene this session, Dialogue on Governance, organized in collaboration with CII Telangana and Telangana Development Forum and the Foundation for Democratic Reforms. So I once again welcome all the ladies and gentlemen. We are very happy to host this session on governance, and we deeply appreciate the support and guidance of Dr. Gopal Reddy Garu and Dr. Jayaprakashan Narayana Garu in shaping today's discussions. CII has been at the forefront of advancing governance standards in India for over 2 decades. Our first voluntary code on corporate governance, released as early as 1998, set the foundation for industry-led governance reforms in the country. Our focus remains consistent, encouraging companies to adopt best practices, not because they are mandated, but because they are right for business and society. Today, we have speakers with varied experience, and I hope all of you get enriched by the discussions today, and we continue to engage actively with policymakers, regulators, and industry leaders to align governance frameworks with emerging realities. As we look ahead, the competitiveness of Indian industry will increasingly depend on its ability to govern responsibility, innovate consciously, and lead the purpose. And in fact, this event is our past chairman, Mr. Anil Kumar Epur. He has been advocating that we need to have this kind of dialogue with bureaucracy and government. So I think I'm so happy to announce that it is happening today. So I once again welcome all of you. Thank you. Now I request Mr. Anil Kumar V. Epur, past chairman CIS Southern Region, to give his welcome remarks, please.
Thank you, Chairman. A very good evening to all the distinguished guests, senior government officers, retired officers, industry CEOs, and good friends. It is a privilege to be here at this exclusive session, which we named as the Dialogue on Governance, which has been jointly organized by CII Telangana, the Foundation for Democratic Reforms, and the Telangana Development Forum. Over the past decade, Telangana has made significant progress in economic development, infrastructure, and in investment climate. Hyderabad today is recognized globally for its stability, its talent ecosystem, and reliability. However, with rapid growth comes a new set of governance challenges. Fiscal sustainability, the quality and productivity of public investments, pressures on urban mobility, and the need to ensure that growth is inclusive, especially beyond our major urban centers. As someone who has spent considerable time engaging with both industry and public institutions, I see governance not as a theoretical subject, but as a practical foundation for long-term progress. Governance, whether in government or industry, must be about transparency, accountability, have a long-term perspective. Institutions are strong. Growth not only accelerates but becomes sustainable and equitably distributed. Likewise, corporate governance in the private sector plays a vital role in shaping responsible investment, enhancing trust, ensuring the economic gains are both ethical and durable. In this context, I would like to share a suggestion rooted in our past experience. Some of you may recall that about consciousness and collaborative problem solving, and it is now essentialness, and collaborative problem solving, and it is now essential. Today's session itself reflects the need for such dialogue. Discussions around restoring fiscal health, improving efficiency of public investments, strengthening urban transport systems, and revitalizing small-town economies are central to shaping the next phase of Telangana's development. These are not merely administrative and technical matters. They require partnerships, shared understanding, and balanced priorities. I'm confident that under the moderation of Dr. Jayaprakash Narayana and with the insights of the esteemed panelists present here, our deliberations will lead to thoughtful and practical recommendations. I look forward to an engaging discussion this evening. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you again.
Thank you, Anil. Now I request Dr. G. Gopal Reddy Garu, Trustee and Past Chairman, Telangana Development Forum, to give his welcome remarks.
Good evening, the esteemed participant today. At the outset, let me thank my good friend Anil Epur and the CII team and JP for accepting to moderate and be part of this venture. The Telangana Development Forum has a long relationship with CII. We did a first conference, Vision for the New Millennium in 2001. And later, we did another good conference in 2015, Governance for Development. And in the last 3 years, we did a few vocational training, vocational education, skill development, and entrepreneurship. In the last February, we did a seminar on higher education. Let me introduce myself to some of you who don't know. I'm an NRI, living in, this is my 50th year in US. I left long ago, but I've been connected to this state, this land, very passionately in many aspects. And the last couple of years, Telangana Development Forum, we thoroughly did a review on education, submitted the report, and it culminated in government appointing a commission for Education Commission, and it is on the verge of coming up with a new educational policy. And we may take some credit to be partnering in that venture. So then I thought there are other issues which help the development of the state. Some of the issues are the governance issues. So from years, a couple of months ago, I invited several retired IAS officers. We did a couple of Zoom video conferences. And again, I just came 4 days ago, and a couple of weeks ago, I asked Anil, let us do a meeting like this in person. and we approached JP to moderate this event today to bring out some kind of a positive developments, a direction to the state, to bring a kind of ecosystem that where the new investments, new technologies will take place for the common good of these people. And the other thing is, ours is mine is a generation which saw how it was like, how it transformed, and what it is today. We are in an age of paradigm shift now. I'm not sure which way we are heading, and I hope in the next several years how this paradigm shift leads to, but we should work for our legacy. You know, you're all esteemed, knowledgeable people. Let us work together to bring a positive change, not a regressive change in the country. And thanks again for participating on this event. I mean, it makes me extremely happy. And at the same time, I should thank my wife to let me do these kind of things. You know, she says, I used to run Zoom meetings every Sunday, getting up at 6 in the morning, and you know, why don't you relax? I said, you know, this is my relaxation, you know, and thanks again, JP. You know, my association with JP with the long one. You know, what I like about him is optimism. You know, the thing is his passion for the democracy. You know, and he sees light at the end of the tunnel, you know, and I feel the same way. But what I see certain things, that how it is happening, I don't know whether, you know, there is end of the tunnel, light at the end of the tunnel, you know, all the time. So we need to be vigilant. There is light at the end of the tunnel, you know, that is what our mission should be like. And thanks again, thanks for the time that I took longer.
Thank you, sir. Now, request Dr. Jayaprakash Narayana to take over, please.
Friends, I will dispense with preliminaries and I will be seated just to set the tone for the dialogue. English or Telugu? Anybody who does not follow Telugu? Okay. We will substantially use English, but occasionally break into Telugu. There's some good news, there's some bad news. Good news is that there will be no speeches. Speeches are over. It will be really a dialogue. That's what we intended to be. The bad news is we expected the Chief Secretary K. Ramakrishna Rao to be here, but he was, I think, held up with a meeting suddenly. Because if he's there, we thought, with the head of the civil services, part of the governing system, it would be helpful to communicate and to follow up. But I'm sure it's more than made up by very eminent people in this room. We have, among the panelists, very distinguished people. We have Bibhu Acharya, we have NVS here. Then we have in the next panel...
NVS is still part of the government.
Yes, I know. I know, he's advisor. So he's still not controlling. So I'm sure he will hold forth now. So Dr. Janardhan Reddy is there, Ajay is there, Ajay Kallam is there, very experienced, former Chief Secretary. Mr. Ramakrishna, there's a reason why he's here. We'll discuss that later. But more important, we have an exceptional group here. Very eminent people, entrepreneurs, civil servants with outstanding record and experience, public intellectuals. Nirab somewhere sitting. Nirab, Nirab is there. And many other, we have Professor Balkrishna Reddy, the Higher Education Council. So, no, people who are very much involved in making things better. So we don't require speeches. We don't require description of the problems. We require a sense of the way forward. So here are a few ground rules. We all understand the political and fiscal constraints in which we are operating. So we're not here to to question the political choices, attack them, or support them. And if we don't understand the nature of politics and the complexity that politicians work under, you only have to see the Jubilee Hills by-election, how incredibly difficult it is for the political system. So it's easy for us to throw stones at them. So this is not about that. This is about practical, doable things. This is about low-hanging fruit. If you ask for, just 100,000 crores to give us, we'll do something, it's no use. It simply is not happening. So what is doable in two ways? One, low-hanging fruit, where we could easily make significant difference by doing some simple things. And two, already when we invested a lot of money in a variety of areas, we are not yielding the results. Spending money is no good if it's not delivering results. So what are the things to be done? Some illustrative. This is not exhaustive, it's only illustrative. And the last point, we endorse all the good things happening. Successive governments have done some very good things, we appreciate that. We don't have to repeat that. Therefore, our focus is not on high-tech, not on AI, and all the wonderful, great, fanciful things sometimes. Mr. Padmanabha is saying, you open the newspaper every day, you see AI. I'm all in favor. We are all users of technology. But how to make lives better? So that is the spirit in which we are taking up. So what we'll do is, we'll have a structured dialogue with participation and inputs and insights from you. And hopefully, we can get somewhere, some sense of what are the possible things in Telangana state in the coming years, without asking for the moon. So with these introductory remarks, we will start off. First, Vritti, I'll take you through just a few slides, a minute or two. We present for each question a couple of slides so that you get a sense of what is it we're talking about. It's a meandering. Many of the discussions in the country, we are very verbose as a civilization. We use language, often without any purpose. I'm sorry for being sharp. So unless we know what we're doing, why we are doing, gatherings serve no purpose. People will be deterred. So the idea is to focus attention on the facts which are incontrovertible, apply some logic, and find some practical solutions. Gopal accused me of being optimistic. I completely feel guilty of that. I'm always an optimist. You give me a darkest cloud, I find a silver lining. I think that's the only way forward. Okay? So the first session is about restoring fiscal health and making investments already made more productive, because we understand the fiscal constraints. So fiscal health part, we'll start now first. Go on. Okay, some numbers. These are all from the official sources. Our debt GSDP ratio is 47%, actually slightly overestimated. Government itself claimed this, that's why I'm giving this number. If you notice, public debt is directly by the government is 5 lakh. Government 1,17,000 crores. Pending bills, we don't know the exact number. The number that my team got is 42,000 crores. Andhra Pradesh, they say 1,30,000 crores. I don't know. Ajay may have a better sense. And those in government may have better sense. But this is the number we have. Basically, we keep hearing about Arogyashri, 8,000 crores in Chapnar. At least that's what I keep hearing. 10,000 crores in fee reimbursement. Employees' arrears, retirement package, and contractors. Lot of things. So I don't know the number. These are government dues, because the pending bills is not shown anywhere. Very conveniently, that is glossed over. Because until you pay, government system is not accrual system. Accounting. It's only on the basis of expenditure actually incurred. So if somebody is suffering somewhere, the state is languishing, it's not reflected in the accounts. There are two other numbers we have to get a fix. That's why transparency in accounting is required. Some 1,24,000 crores guarantees on behalf of corporations and public utilities where they are supposed to repay. Now, to what extent are they capable of repaying? Is it merely an illusory thing, or is it real? We don't know. It varies from organization to organization. So that is a question mark. The other one is, without guarantees, public sector entities have borrowed. I presume they're capable of repaying, otherwise banks would not have lent them without guarantees. So these five put together is 8,48,000 crores, slightly overestimated in my view. But assuming it's about 1 lakh crore less, it is still about 37 to 40% of the GSTP. The norm typically for the state is 20%. You can go up to 25. 30 may be okay. Telangana was the richest state in 2014 in India. Not only in per capita income terms, but in terms of the revenue surplus. But first we must understand the facts. Next. A comparison. How are other states doing? Andhra Pradesh is much worse. I don't think it should be a consolation that another Telugu state is doing terribly badly. Punjab is pretty bad. West Bengal is bad. Great states. Orissa. You wouldn't think Orissa is a very rich state or anything. Actually, in many ways, a backward state until recently. A remarkable fiscal performance. They generated 38,000 crore revenue surplus. For those who are not familiar, day-to-day revenues versus day-to-day expenditure, not investments and debt. Generate 38,000 crore surplus, flow into investments for the state's future. Gujarat has been consistently good, and Gujarat, remember, does not have excise revenue. Imagine Telangana and Andhra Pradesh not having liquor revenue, how deep in the red they will be. Without excise revenue for the past 50, 60 years, they are a remarkable state. Maharashtra, very impressive performance. Debt GDP ratio is just 21%. Uttar Pradesh, not listed here, 78,000 crores surplus, revenue surplus. One of the poorest states of India, India's largest state, 78,000 crores surplus. They showed political popularity, welfare for the poor, and economic development and fiscal responsibility can go together. So if anybody says fiscal responsibility and welfare cannot go together, they are plain lying. Next slide, please. This is the last slide, I think, on this subject. What needs to be done is very self-evident. If KRK is here, because he's also one of the most experienced officials in public finances in the country, it would have been helpful. But I'm sure they're taking care of it, and we'll anyway convey this, whatever we come up with, to them. There's what's called golden rule by the economists. Basically, you do whatever you like with your revenue. But you cannot borrow and spend on current expenditure. Within that revenue you have all your current expenditure, your salaries and pensions anyway you have to do. Then you have to anyway take care of your interest payments, then your welfare, then your administrative expenditure. These are things which you cannot curtail. Some things maybe you can curtail or at least manage better. But do whatever you like, it's up to you. After all, you're an elected government. You can do whatever you want. But there must be basic rule, the boundary conditions. You cannot borrow and spend on current expenditure burdening the next generation. All our families, all companies have that basic rule. Second is transparency. As you've seen, we don't know what is happening. We only know something. Despite the budget being officially a transparent document, Ajay knows very well, it's anything but transparent. What actually happens, particularly states, union government is much better. When you see the numbers, you know pretty much what they're talking about. With states, very confusing. At least people, the principals, the taxpayers, the sovereigns have a right to know what exactly is happening. And then in case of special purpose vehicles, how many of them have the capacity to repay so that we understand what is the liability of the government? The next point is especially for Telangana. Until Telangana issue came up, I never thought of it for the country. Capital investment, even if it's not revenue expenditure, Kaleshwaram taught us one important thing. Just because it's capex doesn't mean it's good. Unless there is cost-benefit analysis, a rigorous analysis, the state is going to go into red. This state is famous for vanity projects, very expensive, but generally not very productive. I have raised my voice for the past 20 years about Kaleshwaram Chevalla Pranahita. Now people are talking after Dongal Badda Garnela Kokalamurita Upayamanda Aipende. Now we only can learn lessons from the past mistakes. At least future. Andhra Pradesh came up with an idea of Banakacharla. In my judgment, a disaster. They're now saying something else. I don't know, Nalamar Sagar, whether it's viable or not, I have not examined. So just because it's capital investment doesn't mean it's a good thing either. You must be very careful about that. And welfare expenditure cannot be removed. Let's be practical. Professor Narasimha Reddy asked me, welfare in jail. You cannot have democratic system of governance without reasonable measures of welfare. Let's be practical. United States gives free rations in the name of food stamps to 43 million people, the world's richest country. The issue is not whether should welfare should be there or not. The issue is whether there is a reasonable balance between welfare and economic development. Whether you're borrowing money for short-term welfare without actually enhancing the capacity of the people to earn, to come out of poverty. That is the challenge. So the good news is, because we are all growing, generally each state, Telangana growth is about 7%, 7-8% we are growing annually. Nominal growth rate will be about 10-11%, depending on inflation. So revenues are rising. If you at least have the discipline to curb further addition to welfare, freeze it or grow it nominally, another 1 or 2% every year, not 15-20% every year. Within 5 years, it will come under control. Simple arithmetic. 100 will become 200 or 170 or so in 5 years' time. 180. The denominator increases if the numerator is frozen. So let us say 50 by 100 versus 50 by 170, the ratio has come down. So it's much more manageable. So it's not a desperate situation. It's not a terrible situation, but we must have the discipline. What's happening is our welfare expenditure growth is faster than economic growth. Then it's a disaster. So that much discipline, and with a bit of care, we are safe. And there is a mechanism constitutionally, under Article 293, Government of India has the power and the duty to approve every debt and impose conditions on states. Government of India is failing to do that in general. They have been very lax. They also have to really take charge, take responsibility for the fiscal, financial stability of India and credit of India. That's it. Now, given that, Bibu, I thought KRK would respond to this. I know you have limitations.
I can respond briefly on
Yeah.
this.
So what do you think is the way forward? Do you think the government has the political will and administrative skill?
Thank you, sir. I would respond in two ways. I was in planning department when, in the initial years of the Telangana state, and I'm privy to, although I was not directly involved in budget making. KRK is the expert for last 11, 12 years before he became Chief Secretary. But I've had discussions with Dr. G.R. Reddy, who was the advisor, and with the former Chief Minister. Oftentimes, the examples of USA, Japan were also, when we discussed about our debt burden going up, there were oftentimes examples of USA. For instance, USA's debt GDP ratio today is 124%. So $38 trillion. China is $18 trillion. So it was told to the former CM that it's not such a generate enough revenue as the economy grows. In fact, I also partly agree of Odisha being a good example. I belong to Odisha. I have seen the level of development. It is nothing to compare with Andhra Pradesh or Telangana. It's nearly 25, 30 years behind our development. So all the service sector in Hyderabad is flooded by unemployed youth from Odisha.
No, it's not about defending a record, it's about what to do now.
No, I am challenging the premise that you raised a concern about the...
No, we can debate that in different forum.
Yeah.
Facts are facts. You cannot...
No, these are the facts. I am also stating facts. USA's debt GDP ratio is 124%.
So is it your argument that India can increase the debt GDP ratio indefinitely?
Perhaps. If you are growing...
It's a disaster. No, let's not... This is not time to debate.
I am not an economist.
We have certain norms, let's adhere to that. Otherwise, we question the basic assumptions. You can incur debt any time without any capital expenditure. Capital expenditure can be profligate without any returns to society. I think it's absurd economics. I don't accept people. Sorry.
Anyway,
let's move on.
You're entitled to a view, and I am entitled to
view.
It is not universally the axiom. It's not an adage. I would beg to differ. It's not an adage.
We'll have another conference on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
But now, what do you do about the fiscal crisis?
Of course, there are...
Not able to pay salaries, you have dues to...
Absolutely. government, in fact...
You're used to government programs like fee reimbursement, contractors, employees. If this is not crisis, I don't know what is crisis. So let's move on.
All the states, are, including Government of India, all of them are in this kind of a condition.
This is a terrible apology. If this is the way our system functions, I think it's a disaster. No, sorry.
No, I am not.
I'm sorry. I'll be very firm.
Let me speak my views. I will speak. Otherwise, I will stop.
I said fiscal crisis. What to do?
I'm arguing it's not a crisis. My argument is not a crisis. Need not be considered a crisis. Not being able to pay
salaries on time, not being able to pay dues to hospitals,
all right.
medical colleges.
The US government is shut down for 40 days. Has the economy collapsed? No. It's continuing. No. You have to see it realistically, pragmatically, what is the outcome. You cannot be too rigid on these things. Okay. Anyway, it's my view. I will stop here.
Let me tell you, in the year the government shut down.
అట్లా కాదండి అసలు క్రైసిస్ లేదంటే అట్లాగా ఆర్థికంగా ఏం చేద్దాం అని ఆలోచించకుండాను ఇంకా ఖర్చు పెట్టొచ్చు ఇంకా ప్రాఫిట్
క్రైసిస్ కాదని చెప్తున్నా నేను. Let us not cry horse about the crisis. It is not there.
Sir, can I speak? Yeah. The analysis that is made is that any welfare expenditure must be limited to 1% of GSDP. 1%. That is accepted norm, and whereas the Telangana government has crossed 3%. So, with the result, whatever investment that we are making towards the welfare schemes, they are not productive in nature. They are not going to bring back anything. So, any productivity-related expenditure, that must be encouraged. You take Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. Large number of people claim that money. But if the same labor is utilized in agricultural operations of individuals, they will be doing some productive work. But they just have ఒక తట్ట రెండు తట్టలు రోడ్డు కని పోస్తారు, that is it, fine. So the entire money is going to just waste. And presently we are at 28% debt. And every time we are paying out of the budget about 14% of that towards the debt repayments. Now with money which is going towards welfare, and where is the money left for other welfare scheme? In compulsory welfare scheme is to provide education, to provide health. There is nothing, no money left.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this is going to be leading to a disaster situation where we will become another Pakistan in India.
Thank you. Ajay, you have faced that crisis in Andhra Pradesh. You have seen Telangana finances and AP finances earlier. What to do now?
I think basically we go with a lot of perceptions. State revenues, forget about the government of India, are basically from main three sources. One is state-owned revenue. That is what state generates through GST, maybe registration stamps and whatnot, excise. The second source is Government of India devolutions. As for the Finance Commission, whatever we get based on that formula, that is the second source. At least we should limit it, because when the states divided, both of them, they gave in. Here, Telangana, they thought only because of the employees we got Telangana. That's why 43% fitment, unheard in the history of this country, anywhere. So, since they gave, Andhra also followed suit. So, 5 years their salaries doubled and all. So, we need to control and limit further hike of this burden, employees and pensioners burden. That is one thing. very important for us. We need to rationalize and do. Welfare, yes, I agree that whatever we are spending may be more, but we should again look at it where. In the welfare also, something which we conveniently ignore is two basically subjects take away most of the burden, subsidy burden. One is power sector, second is civil supply sector. There is tremendous scope to streamline and bring the burden of both power sector as well as civil supply sector, substantially down. Once those two are taken care of, almost 40% of the welfare burden comes down. So this is what I want.
Thank you for that very lucid presentation. But I thought, Ajay, PDS, Government of India burden is much greater than the states, right?
Because what they give is, as for their, the so-called per capita income details and other their formulas they take, and they say only 40% is eligible. We make it 80%.
So numbers we inflate 80%. Correct. Almost everybody gets ration card low. They exceed the number of households in both the states, more or less. Otherwise, subsidy component of the Government of India is far greater. They probably issue price for them is 5 rupees 50 paise or something. If you give a 2 rupees or 1 rupee, you only have 4 rupees subsidy. But if you want to extend it to another 40%, then you bear the full cost. I hear you.
Okay. Sir, here, Nirav, sir.
Yes, Nirav. Another former Chief Secretary.
Sir, I think the presentation is exceedingly good, sir, and figures I don't think is an underestimate, sir. They are all, in fact, overestimate. They are all underestimate, sir. The situation is really bad, sir. Now, my suggestion is little different, sir. I think we are measuring wrong parameters, sir. I think this percentage GSDP, the public debt to the GSDP, is absolutely a ratio which we are calculating which doesn't identify the problem. We have to get down to our own budget. We don't include our own revenues plus the state resources. That's the revenue. I'm talking of the total public revenue, public debt against the public revenue, not the private debt or the private. GSDP calculates the whole thing. Because ultimately, while you are calculating the public debt and making it to the GSDP, gives us a very, very wrong impression about percentage in terms of 3 or 5 or 5.5, whatever we are talking about. We have to understand we are talking about the government income and the government expenditure. And once we identify this problem, I think both in terms of the current revenues and the capital expenditures, we should insist on the ratios being correctly measured so that we know what we are talking about. Ajay Kallamgaru sir has given concrete suggestions on what all can be done in the, both on the expenditure and the subsidy side. Ultimately, one of the biggest difficulties for the state governments is on the revenue side. With GST, liquor, registration, GST, excise, liquor, registration being the major 3 revenues, the local bodies are also totally dependent on the state revenues. The local bodies are also not able to generate their own revenues. Ultimately, the scope of revenue generation is very limited unless you increase the taxation rates, which is again not acceptable, at least politically in large number of cases. So that's some problem which we will have to appreciate, that means cutting down of subsidy, putting salaries on a freeze and all are one ratio. But I think in the longer interest, I think some sort of a very tough decision on the taxation rates would have to be thought. Unless you think about increasing the revenues, you will not be able to come out of the crisis. The crisis is there. We are taking loans to pay back the old loans. And unless we do some sort of a solution, even if it is a temporary solution for having a cess or a tax to deal with these problems, I don't think we will be able to come out of this problem, sir. These are the 2 points I just wanted to make, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nirav. Padmanabh Garu, the Bhishmacharya of administration.
2 points have come.
Okay. So let's take it on board. Let's move on. We have to find ways of fiscal discipline which are politically palatable. It's not easy, but it's not impossible either. Now, the other part of this discussion is, can we utilize the assets already created more effectively? Because in the last 30 years, a lot of good things happened. Governments have invested sensibly, for instance, Hyderabad city and elsewhere, but we're not putting them to proper use. So the focus is on productive utilization of resources already created, because that's one way. And if it's already spending, like education, Ajay mentioned, now can we do something about rationalization? Can we do improve? The sad part of our education is, Ajay, in Telangana, while we have surplus teachers, we recruited more teachers, we advertise that. Nobody talks about the educational outcomes. So we'll go into that aspect. Next slide, please. This is the net result of what Ajay explained. We are spending 1,08,000 rupees per child in government schools. I don't know if you're aware, per year. Per year. Yesterday, a DAV school principal met me. Their fee is 50,000 rupees. The teachers' salaries are 7th pay revision commission, the best in the country. Outcomes are extremely good. She says 50,000, so we have absolutely no problem. It's more than adequate to meet the needs. We spend 1,08,000 rupees because of misallocation of resources and non-focus on actual outcomes, what's happening to the child. Expenditure is going, teachers are recruited, money is spent, the kids are in a terrible shape. Only 39% of the kids at 18 years of age, I want you all to kindly pay attention. Only 39% of the youngsters at the age of 18 are able to read time. Look at a watch and read time. About 70% are able to tell you roughly the hour. If you want the hour and the minute, in Telangana today, only 39% of 18-year-olds can read time. And you want them to be productive members of modern economy with artificial intelligence and quantum computing and all whatnot. Only 52% can divide, not knowing when to divide, just the operation of division, 365 divided by 7. At the age of 18, only 52% are able to divide. Only 8% can calculate the interest. You borrowed 10,000 rupees at 10% annual interest rate. How much interest you to pay in a year? Only 8% can answer that question. At the age of 18, this is not at the age of 5. If you go to market, you want to buy 3 kilograms of brinjal. What are the weights you must put to weigh 3 kilograms of brinjal? Only 29% can put those weights in the market. They can't be a more low-hanging fruit, sir. Absolutely. Earlier they sort of ignored them. Now government does what is called National Achievement Survey. Pass percentage is 96, grade level competence is 10-15. More teachers. Really?
They appointed a committee now. I think also is there.
Next slide, please. Now, if only you focus on outcomes and nothing else, other fanciful things, 50 years, 60 years you had time, you didn't do them. I have no reason to believe you will do them any better. If you design examinations stress-free without mugging up, only test conceptual understanding and application of knowledge, nothing else. And if you measure that honestly, because the word honest must be now added, other examinations are rampant mass copying. Somehow, the society which demands quality education, our parents, our children, the poorest parents are spending money out of pocket, sir, 3,000, 4,000 per month they are spending, in the hope that the children get an advantage. So if they know what is the goal, instead of the stupid goal now of mass copying and rote learning, that is the examination. 99% pass, they know nothing. At least that much you do, it doesn't cost any money at all. Society will then act. They will figure out. And then you do rationalization, as Ajay mentioned. There are schools where the teachers outnumber the students. There are more teachers than the students enrolled in schools. There are schools where There is zero enrollment, but there are teachers. There are 2,000 teachers in Telangana working in schools with zero kids. I don't know what working is there. We can go on and on. It's an incredibly important thing because the biggest expenditure in the government is education, because 50% of bureaucracy is education. The whole Telangana society, all entrepreneurs must raise their voice, all taxpayers must raise their voice. Unless the money already being spent is put to good use, our economy will go for a toss. Other states are equally bad. I'm sure Bibu will say other states are bad too. I don't think that's a consolation for us. All states must do it. Our state must do it too. So rote learning, mass copying, marks which are meaningless. And if anybody has any doubts about that, please just go and check what's happening. Ask any educationist, నరసింహారెడ్డి గారు అడగండి, ఇంజనీరింగ్కి వచ్చేటప్పుడు ఎంతమంది వస్తున్నారు? లక్షల మంది. ఇంజనీరింగ్కి వచ్చినప్పుడు వాళ్ళ స్టాండర్డ్ ఏంటో చెప్పండి నరసింహారెడ్డి గారు. వాళ్ళ ఫౌండేషన్ స్కిల్స్ ఏంటో చెప్పండి. హారిబుల్. ఇంజనీరింగ్కి వచ్చారు వీళ్ళు, ఎంసెట్ ర్యాంక్ వచ్చింది. దే కమ్ టు బెటర్ కాలేజెస్. వాళ్ళు తప్పు కాదు. ఐ డోంట్ బ్లేమ్ ద చిల్డ్రన్ అట్ ఆల్. We destroy them. We're killing their future, whole generation's future. Next, please. That's it. So, education. Now, who will take this up? Yes, Janardhan.
First, thank you, CII, for providing me this platform. I visited around 3,000 schools in my life, studied in only one school. And I was Vice Chancellor for 5 years for 3 universities. And I was also Education Secretary. Therefore, I think I am eligible to speak for 2 minutes on this subject. Sir, if you see in India, there are 1 crore teachers. 26 crore children, 1:26. USA also teacher versus student ratio same 1:25. And in Telangana it is much less, 1:, less than 20 for primary schools.
High schools 1:8. High schools in Telangana, for every 8 kids there is a teacher paid about 1 lakh rupees salary.
Yeah. So the whole country it is the problem. Telangana also it is a problem. More number of employees, more number of schools, less quality education. So it has been discussed, debated. According to me, and also as per Amartya Sen's observation, in any Indian government school, on any given day, 25% of the students are absent. And 23% of the teachers are absent. Maybe leave and all that, whatever. They have a lot of leaves. As it is, out of 365 days, only 220 working days are there. In that also, on any given day, in tribal areas it is much more worse. In interior areas it is much more worse. In some of the girls' schools it is much more worse. So everybody talks in all the forums, give good schools, uniform, books, food, tie, shoe, computers. If you don't go, how do you learn? So according to me, this is the biggest problem for absenteeism. So this does not require any money from the government side. Civil society, self-help groups, local bodies, urban, rural and all that, government, teachers, everybody has to do this. This is number one. Structurally, there is another problem, sir. From 1947 onwards, we have been concentrating on enrollment of the children. Therefore, the effort of the government was to reach out to the people. Go to the villages, go to the hamlets, go to the tribal villages. In every habitation, have a school. Having said that, we have 15 lakh schools. But we have only 6 lakh villages. Maybe in the urban areas it is more. But every smallest habitation possible, there is a school. And there is a norm. If number of students are less than some 20, only one teacher. But 20 students are there. This single teacher has to teach first class, second class, third class, fourth class, fifth class. First thing in rural areas, parents are illiterate, ecosystem is not there. They require 10 hours of study, 8 hours in the school and additional coaching. Leave alone additional coaching. What is due to them, they are not getting. First point. Second point, absenteeism for various reasons. There is no concentration on that. So if we can, then what should be done? In Rajasthan and all that, some experiments are done. When I was education secretary also, I was trying to, as Ajay sir said, trying to rationalize. I was just trying to calculate how many schools, how many students, what is the ratio, how do you rationalize and all that. It was not even told to Chief Minister. Chief Minister also did not tell me, but there was already simmering discontent when I started this, and a lot of groups came to me. Sir, you are trying to close the schools. I said, why should I try to close the schools? I will not do that. So what can we do? Rationalization and creating centers of excellence. In every mandal, for example, in Telangana, now government has already started, but it cannot be on pilot basis. Somehow, it has to be done in a year or two. Nothing happens because children are coming to the towns. Your schools are in the villages. And your teacher is there and multi-grade teaching. So with the same available teachers, because as ratio says 1:20 we have already, as sir has said, in high schools it is 1:8. Don't increase any number of teachers. With the same number of teachers, rationalize the schools. In every mandal, 2 or 3 places you put it. And if you say poor people, how can they come? All poor people are going to private schools. In Telangana, around 46 lakh students are in private schools, and around 25 or so are in the government school. In spite of being 7.5 lakh in the residential and all that, private schools number is more. So then there are 10 to 15 teachers and around 10 acres of land. Many people can give land, that is not an issue. And immediately if it is done, then each teacher can teach 20 students or 25. Right now it appears that a teacher is teaching 26, but only 1/5 of the time or 1/6 of the time he is teaching. So it is non-financial intervention, doable. Like this, discussion should happen in every village, every habitation, whether you want school or education. Only 4 walls, 1 teacher who is paid 60,000, 70,000 rupees, only 3-4 students. And it is national waste. And on the one side, we are trying to reduce the burden of employees. On the other side, we are recruiting more. And then the other aspect is they are not able to learn anything. So one non-financial intervention is pay attention on the increasing absenteeism, reducing absenteeism. And when I was secretary, sir, in 1 year, I concentrated with the non-financial intervention only, taking the self-help groups, Dwakra groups, MEPMA groups and all that. On an average, every day out of 24 lakh students in the government then, 6 lakhs were absent. In 1 year, we brought it down to 4 lakhs. I thought if I am there for the next 3 more years, I would bring it down to at least 2 lakhs. First, non-financial intervention. Second is somehow take these statistics, analyze it, and make some centers of excellence. And
issue. That's why I think one important thing is rationalization. Second thing, generally, sir, I think we have to. It's both school education and higher education. We are in vicious circle. One update I think we need to do is updating the syllabus, curriculum. Poor particular, I can speak on higher education because today, last 10-12 years, higher education is in doldrums, in coma, in problems. It is a vicious circle. Of course, where to hit this? I think according to me, last 1 year, you are seeing, little reforms we are trying. One is the updating the syllabus. Yes, the students are not going to colleges. Teachers are not teaching. Reason, what is the reason? Reason is that we have not updated our syllabus in tune with whatever you call it's a global competition, our industry needs, all those. I think that's where we in Higher Education Council, last 1 year, we are trying to update. Sir, no money is involved here. Only we have to take decision to do that. So last 6 months, we tried because today, whether it's an EP or otherwise also, so we have to update. Today, the BA, BSc become more particularly because I'm looking, rural students. Last 10 years, not much, even I don't know how to say, syllabus revision is not happened. Second thing is, today UGC mandate. Of course, we had to follow the mandates of, bodies, whether UG, CII, CT, Bar Council, Pharma Council, all those. So keeping that in mind, I think, where cushion is there, where is leverage is there, we should update our syllabus. That is one thing. Today, the third mandate is, of course, 20% of the syllabus. I'm talking about higher education, particularly. We have to do with the technology. Today, AI is taught in schools. Why not it is in degree colleges? Why degree students have to be denied this technology? This kind of little intervention will help. Second thing is again mismatch in the degree colleges, particularly rationalization. Every district we have 2-3 degree colleges, 20 students, 30 students, teachers are there. Pathetic condition, no scavengers, no attenders, no. This I think we need to do one academic audit. Second is rationalization. That is what I think is. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kodanamgar.
Sir, my feeling is that the abstract figures do not give a complete picture. If you look at the field, in the field, what we see is something different. The basic problem is that we don't have a pre-primary section in the school. Children at that young age, they go to a private school and then they are in the private school thereafter. So we need a private pre-primary section, and then in the primary section, each teacher is handling 3-4 subjects, 3-4 classes simultaneously, which is not a very good practice at all. There should be one teacher for each classroom. I think if you bring about these reforms, there would definitely be improvement in the primary school. Once the quality of the primary school improves, definitely situation changes in the middle and the higher schools. That I think is necessary and the fundamental task. And as far as the high schools are concerned, we may look at the gross figures, find that there are large number of teachers, but quite often the subject experts are missing. In a high school, if there is no physics teacher or maths teacher, then you can as well imagine how the teaching atmosphere would be in that school. So these are some of the practical issues. Then another important thing is that there is no effective monitoring system. We need to have a very effective monitoring system. That system has completely been destroyed. There are no MEOs, and in many districts there are no DEOs. And between the MEO and DEO there is a deputy educational officer, and they are not recruited at all. I think that system has to be established, and an effective monitoring is what we really need at this point of time. Focus should not be only on providing school education. Focus should be on providing not only the infrastructure, they're trying to improve the teaching facility. All these, I think, changes are required. Not so much, you don't need perhaps additional finances. Maybe we don't need additional teachers, but what we need is a proper allocation of the available teachers. Where required, additional staff has to be recruited, and we should not hesitate. In the name of cutting expenditure, we should not stop this recruitment process. In addition to that, I would also like to mention that a lot of people are migrating to Hyderabad and also other towns. While the urban areas are expanding rapidly, the schools in the urban areas are not expanding in the same pace. So there is a mismatch. Some schools in the rural areas perhaps are not required. Maybe you can as well close them down. But you need to shift them to an urban area rather than closing them completely. I think this needs to be thought of very seriously. These are some of the issues. Now, if the school education, the quality of the school education improves, perhaps the quality of the higher education also incommensurate with that, that can also be improved. We have a very bad higher education system. I would like to say it without hesitation that the liberalization process has completely destroyed the higher education. We don't have adequate staff in the colleges and in the universities. Very often people think that pure sciences and liberal arts are not required at all. So they have not focused on these subjects. So we need, strengthening of these higher educational institutions. The needs of the school education, while they are of one kind, the requirements of the higher education are of a completely different kind. And this requires a lot of effort. I think the government has thought of strengthening the high schools in every mandal, rather than, dispersing the available resources very poorly across the state. They're trying to focus on 3 or 4 schools and strengthening those schools so that, the quality of the education can be strengthened, the school system can be strengthened further. It is a very difficult task, but I think serious attention needs to be paid. Instead of, thinking in terms of, why have more the average numbers, we should look at the concrete reality and try to make an assessment. I agree with you, maybe we don't require an additional teachers at this point of time, but I think we need monitoring system. There you need staff. We also need proper number of teachers at the primary school level. That is very, very essential. And at the higher education, in the high schools, we need to have teachers, who can handle these various specialized subjects. I think, if you look at the reality, maybe you need more staff. Maybe there are areas where the recruitment is not required at all. I think this needs to be thought of very carefully, and with one conclusion that focus should be on education. We should focus on education because that is the surest way to bring about social transformation. Thank you.
Thank you for those very lucid points. Only thing is,
Sir,
instead of recruitment, you can redeploy. Monitoring, you can use the teachers. Mr. Midkar.
may I make one point, please?
Okay. First to Gopal, they have done very good work on school education. He would like to highlight some of the key recommendations.
Anyhow, Telangana Development Forum started this venture of analyzing status of education, on the data-based. We submitted this report, analysis, the problems, and the recommendations. There are 60,000 students in the state, out of which around 56 to almost close to 60% in private schools. The rest of the 5 lakh students are in residential schools, and about 20 lakhs are in the rest of the schools. The thing is, even the public education system is not uniform. This Department of Education does not control all schools. The residential schools are controlled by the welfare department, and the tribal schools are controlled by the tribal welfare system. There is no uniformity. Okay. What we thought was, without bringing the structural changes totally, we cannot hope to improve the education system in the state. And also what needs is the rich students, rich families who can afford a pre-primary kindergarten system, they send to the private kindergarten schools. And the rural poor students, they don't have the affordability to go to the kindergarten private schools. They come after, go to first grade at the age of 5 or 6. So it is important that all school systems should start with pre-primary, and at the same time, the rural education school system needs to be revamped with the transportation facilities in the cluster schools, with the better facilities, and the demographics, contributed to the number of students in a village that a school system was started. The other thing is, what we recommend was decentralization of the management of the school system, with the proper number of DEOs and MEOs, whatever you call it, and at the same time, the DEO should have authority to disciplinary action. No, we don't have that system at all. This is too centralized. And the other thing is, even the private school system, we think the private schools are teaching a better quality teaching. No, it's not. Unless the parent is involved in the learning of the students, even the private schools, a lot of low-wage earners who do not, take for example, the girl who works in my house, one day brought her son, the 10th Saran.
No anecdotes, time.
The thing is, what happened is that the people are spending, poor people are spending their money sending the private schools, but they're not learning properly. Okay? This is what is happening because the private school systems are not monitored by any system at all.
Per capita expenditure.
So this is what is happening. The other thing is today, these poor school systems, all this happened over decades. All the deterioration happened over decades. So what we thought was we need to revamp with the structural changes. Unless we have a quality higher school education, we cannot hope to have a higher education. Today, higher education can't produce a quality teacher. Even the professional colleges, today, a medical graduate cannot practice as a general practitioner after 4 years of college and 1 year of house surgency. That is a sad state of affairs. And probably you all know about the number of quality of our engineering graduates in the state.
Gopal, we welcome your emotion. I know it's very important, but we are organizers, so we have time.
Work was done by...
I think the key issues are highlighted. There's a lot of interest, excitement. We'll take it offline later because for constraints of time. Forgive me for that. We will discuss. I'll be here. Other experts will request them to stay on because time is because we have to close by what time? So we passed that. That's why. Forgive me for that. Okay, 2 sentences. No, not 2 minutes. 2 sentences, please. Make them count.
I'm rather
that's the challenge of the moderator. I'm not creating time.
I came here just essentially to listen to all of you.
Please go on.
But after looking at this slide,
lost one sentence.
After looking at the slide,
one sentence. Please move.
Just, sir, actually, okay, sir. We are spending more and learning less. As the size distribution of the schools is increasing, the cost of the per student cost is decreasing. So therefore, smaller the school, higher the cost, because there are certain norms involved. Because every school should have one regular teacher.
Move. Don't explain, please.
Second thing is, there are 2 paradoxes, sir, actually. So for example, when you assess the literacy rate is very high when you compare with the learning levels of children, because a child who's studying 3rd class after completing 2nd class is supposed to be literate, having basics in language, arithmetic, writing skills, etc. So if we make a comparison with literacy rate that is given in the census and other thing, but actual learning, there is a lot of
Your
gap.
point is well taken. Please.
The second thing is SSC percentage actually, because I really want to say that that all of your officials are so involved, and we are also responsible for this decay in the quality of education in the state. Just listen, sir. Please listen. Just listen, sir. Actually, but your SSC pass percentage is, I think, in the last few years not less than 90%. Okay, that is every
Master,
an average.
you are describing the problem.
Learning,
We are moving on.
Yeah.
All this is understood.
This is comparing. Sir.
There's nothing new you are adding, please.
When you make, sir, it's okay.
Time is of the
When you're
essence.
comparing this learning levels, there is a lot of this. So as a result of it, why the percentage, pass percentage is more? Because it is the political system they are also encouraging.
What to do? No, sorry.
That indirectly they are
I
also
have to put a
encouraging.
gelatin. Either you say one more sentence, what
to
to do, or please.
Please, sir.
No, there's no time. I'm sorry.
That
No.
is the
Time
reason.
cannot be
Sir,
created.
We suggested that if you really want evaluation system to strengthen, better have the serious examination system under close monitoring, even CCTV, etc., so that you make a comparison between what the existing percentage of you assessing seriously, there is going to be drastic fall in SSC rates, and that is the reason we are all afraid of for all of a sudden drop in this pass percentage. Nobody wants, sir, actually. Third thing is that there is a diversified management. It's not the uniform, actually. Somebody mentioned that it's only private versus public. But within public also, more than half of the hierarchy of institutions, your social welfare, tribal welfare, minority welfare.
Move on. Gopal made that point.
Yeah. Finally, what we are doing is, we are pushing them. Actually, everywhere we are pushing from the starting to the end. Because we are starting with the class 1, ending at the doctorate, without learning any level. Because the system is ensuring that everybody should be pushed not to retain them. Once we retain it, it is also burden for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for at least I know.
No,
Thank you very much.
Everybody is anguished. I can see the excitement. I'm happy because that's what we're trying. That's what we see. I'm glad that there's so much of excitement because we are ignoring education, as Professor Kondanam said. It's important we all paid attention. One sentence, okay. I'm sorry for being a tyrant, but time does not respect ranks.
As Professor Bhaskar Reddy garu told, there is a requirement for curriculum development, but what has to be taken care is the retraining of the teachers to teach as per the curriculum beforehand. This is very important, especially in professional education. The teachers do not have any practical exposure. Now the industry is seeing only the people who are industry ready. So where is the problem? Problem is about the capacity improvement or enablement of the teachers. This has to be given top importance. Only then our system will improve.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, only one sentence, sir. Only one sentence, sir. Child has to learn, peer learning has to be there. Same age group children are there more in number in school. We can learn the peer learning. That is not there in the primary school.
Priti,
that is why schools have to be rationalized to learn the peer learning.
Okay, in an impromptu decision, those who are, obviously there's so much of excitement, it's music to my ears because a lot of my time in recent times is spent on school education outcomes. So my team will take your contact details. We'll actually have a detailed, in-depth discussion for a whole day because I really want people to be involved, engaged, and find creative solutions. Now there's no time, forgive me, we'll move on.
Thank you.
One point I would like to reiterate at the end of this particular discussion, about 15-20% teachers even today are outstanding. Their commitment, sacrifice, paying out of pocket, they're actually spending from their salaries. But unfortunately, that number is limited and they're not getting encouragement. Government lo gorranni gaadidani oke rakanga chustunam. A great teacher and a useless fellow, just like a great officer and a useless fellow is equal. So it's not about teachers. It's the teachers that made us what we are. We would not have been here without the teachers. I completely endorse that point. Thank you. Okay, next. We'll combine the next two items. Water supply, only one slide. Just I put it there as an example, for instance. But more important, NVS is here. We must take advantage of his presence to look at transport systems and quality of life in Hyderabad. Please, next. This is a picture. When they showed me, I thought they got it from Google. They did further research. One is Mindspace Junction. Other is Khairatabad flyover. Third is Kokatpalli. Now, we all want to compete with Bengaluru, but not in this. I don't think I need to say any more. Next, please. I think water is come. Okay, you removed it. Maybe we can go back to that. Just show me the slide for once. At least just to penetrate the minds. Yeah. We spent thousands of crores to build projects to bring water to Hyderabad city. In all of India, Hyderabad is a blessed city. Mighty Godavari, mighty Krishna on either side. And governments have done a good thing in bringing water. The water availability on paper is 201 liter per capita in Hyderabad, higher than London and Singapore. But 35% is wasted without reaching homes, after spending thousands of crores to lift water to this place. Just when we say money is already spent, make it productive. For heaven's sake, don't talk of another 20,000 crores, 50,000 crores scheme. Utilize what is spent wisely. There's a purpose. So just to highlight that. But go back to transport, please. Yes, afterwards. Okay. You see what's happening in those pictures. You see those numbers. Singapore, London, Shanghai, and New York, public transport ridership per 100 people. On a given day, 100 people, how many rides they take? Because they take more than one because you go and come back and things like that. And how many vehicles do people own out of 100 people? See the stark contrast. Hyderabad, only 26 rides per 100 people per day, public transport. 73 vehicles, we are the richest in the world apparently, richer than Shanghai and Singapore and New York and all kinds of places, because of desperation. Now, Singapore, 123 rides per 100 people. London, 107 rides. Shanghai, 67 rides. New York, 63 rides. Hyderabad, among the big cities of India, is the lowest, by the way. Other cities, Delhi is somewhere near 45 or 47 or something, I'm told. Bangalore is in the 30s, 35 or so. Despite bad traffic, they have more vehicles and more density. It's not because they're managing it worse. We are managing it badly, despite better infrastructure. Vehicle ownership correspondingly is less in all the cities because it's not required. In New York City, who will own vehicles unless you are an insane fellow? Next, please. This is my favorite thing, and NVS is addressing that. 22,000 crores is spent on metro. Metro is running jam-packed. But we're not able to increase frequency because we don't find 300 crores to buy coaches.
Decided today.
I know. Talk about vast investment underutilized. There cannot be a more glaring example. Telangana government is spending 850 crore rupees a day. A day. They could not find in the past 5 years 300 crores, even at least as a loan, non-interest bearing loan, to buy coaches to make the 22,000 crores investment productive. That's what we mean by financial management. Next, please. So, simple answers. I'm sure NVS will address them. We are very confident he's the right person at the right place, and we're putting him on the mat. He must deliver for this stage. Okay? One is your metro, MMTS, and RTC are functioning in splendid isolation, almost in competition and undercutting each other. It's a disgrace. They must work in synergy with absolute clarity about the timetables and connectivity. And a single authority, single ticket is vital. Almost every major city has single authority, single ticket for the multimodal transport. You don't have several tickets and all that. I pleaded with Suresh Prabhu when he was Minister Railways in the Hyderabad function. KTR was there, some other ministers were there. They all said wonderful, but well, it stopped at that. Please, please, it doesn't cost money. The second one, first and last mile connectivity. 65 to 70% of the time and money are spent on the first and last mile connectivity, even for those who use public transport. Therefore, they're tempted to go for a scooter, or it's not because they want to congest the traffic. They have no choice. So unless the last mile connectivity is properly managed, Public transport will not yield dividends and the investment will be underutilized. And you have what is called UMTA, Metropolitan Transport Authority, Urban Metropolitan Transport Authority. I think it's on paper. Let's be blunt. Because Government of India said, you shall create that without which we will not give you any funds, we created. We become a joke in this country. Some norm is there, therefore you do something, you pretend you're doing something, but nothing happens. There's no integration, there's no coordination. I'm sure again that will change. I really want you to be UMTA chair, not advisor to government. Traffic discipline. Of course, Hyderabad, the people are freedom loving. We think it's a birthright to break all traffic rules, and the government's habitually, I don't understand why. They waive penalties. They give discount, and I never heard of discount and penalties. You impose penalties not to collect revenue, to change behavior, for heaven's sake. 1,800 people are dying in Hyderabad city every year. 5 people a day. 25 to 30 are severely wounded in Hyderabad city every day. Apart from the congestion, and I'm sure coming here, all of you face traffic snarls. And road quality. It costs very little money. Some money is required, but nothing compared to what you already spent. NVS, the floor is yours. Not only tell us here, please deliver. We have immense faith in you.
Thank you, sir, for at least reposing faith in me. It's like this, and it's a vast subject, but I'll try to summarize in about a few minutes. Before, yes, I fully agree with these things. Before that, there are many more things which we can do without spending any money whatsoever. The first thing is that actually see, 1/3 of our road space we're wasting. You see, every shop occupies not only the sidewalk, you're part of the road also. So first thing actually which can be done, that doesn't even require political will. The Commissioner of Police, the 3 commissionerates and Commissioner of GHMC, together they can first remove all these push carts and vehicles which are parked on the road, illegal parking, at least on the main carriageway. If you do that, straight away we'll improve our Hyderabad capacity to what is called throughput in traffic and transportation terms by 1/3. Straight away, 33% straight away we can increase.
No, just one intervention. Sir. Then please find alternative place for them. They are earning precarious livelihoods. They're not begging, they're not stealing. So I hear your point, but we are very callous. Either collecting mamuls or throwing them out very cavalierly. So I'm all with you about discipline, but also take care of their lives.
I'm fully conscious of that. Definitely it has to be done. In fact, I should not talk as a government officer. There is a nexus between traffic police, municipal people and the local leaders. There is 30,000 rupees hafta collected every month for every encroachment. 30,000 rupees per month, sir. This hafta gets distributed. It's a known fact. Okay, unfortunately. Anyway, that's a different matter. But the thing is, certain things can be done, and I fully agree with him. Where they have to be accommodated, definitely, there are places identified as per the Supreme Court guidelines. But unfortunately, nobody follows that. Raitu Bazaar is created, nobody goes inside, all the shops are outside. All the etc. So like that, number of things are there. Nexus is there. Then first mile and last mile connectivity needs to be improved. I agree. And we have introduced so far out of the every day 5 lakh passengers travel by Hyderabad Metro. But for 1/4, we have created 25%. That also I have encouraged only through PPP, because I believe that private people do a much better job when compared to government people. That's how we have encouraged them. But unfortunately, COVID, some of them incurred losses. We would like to increase at least to 50%, and I fully agree with Dr. JP. Unfortunately, instead of working in tandem, Metro and TGSRTC, they are competing with each other. That's unfortunate. Anyway, TGSRTC buses now they are made free for women. So I have been requesting them, at least you run them as feeder services. Definitely they have some improvement is there, but a lot of further scope is there. Definitely it can be improved so that from 25% it can be made 50%. And there are at every metro station we have identified government lands which A huge bungalow will be there, a lot of open space will be there. One officer will be occupying that place. It's in a partly dilapidated condition. That can be demolished. A good flat accommodation can be created for the officer, and that can be used for parking. And parking also, we are coming up with number of solutions. Though parking is normally not encouraged all over the world, in the Indian context, we require it because we don't have proper first mile, last mile connectivity, and we don't have proper walking. Sidewalks are totally missing in all the Indian cities, especially in Hyderabad. Unless and until you have that, so that's why you require parking. And parking, there are different kind of solutions, from the very sophisticated parking lot which we are going to open soon in Nampally, which have created German technology, to ordinary parking. This is a number of multi-level parking can be created, so that the ridership will, public transportation ridership will further improve. Then another thing, we have function halls, we have shops, we have commercial buildings, we have educational institutions. None of them have proper parking facilities. All the cars are parked outside of the road. And so again, the road space is being misused. We have to be tough with these organizations. If they run a commercial organization, they have to have their own parking thing, etc. And if you go and see in the entire national highway in the night, it will be occupied by all the private buses being being sent to different places to Andhra Pradesh, etc., and all the whether it is pharma companies, all the companies, they park their thing as if it's their property. The entire road is occupied by these huge buses. In the middle of the road itself, they stop and they sing. All these things, so you don't require much intervention. Nothing is required. Only action has to be taken by the people who have to act. And the corruption has to be stopped. Then loading and unloading right during the peak hour, in everywhere it happens. Nowhere in the world it's allowed. Only in Indian cities this is happening. All these things will free up our space. Buses are stopped right in the middle of the road, whereas bus bay is there. Bus bay is occupied by somebody else. That also, all these are simple interventions. Building rule violations, the less said the better. Cellars are misused completely. Cellar is meant for parking, but shops will be there. This again, action can be taken. Some of the markets which are very congested, now it's time that actually we shift out of the main areas, actually, because a lot of peripheral areas are being developed, actually, systematic, organized markets, if you do. Integration, sir. Yeah, so far as integration is concerned, multimodal integration, we are trying to create actually skywalks is one thing at important metro stations, especially, for example, say for Secunderabad, the railway station. Single ticket coordination, sir, unfortunately, it's not happening. I tried my best actually from the metro, but somehow RTC, my counterparts have not cooperated. Still, it has not happened. I took it to the notice of Mr. KTR. He also tried his best, but he couldn't be successful in that. But hopefully we should be able to. Now Government of India is insisting that actually you have that NCMC card, that hopefully we should be able to implement that. Number of coaches in the metro. Number of coaches, yes. As he has already mentioned it, at least if we invest about 225 crore initially, so we can get 5 trains. With 57 trains, I'm able to run about 1100 trips per day. If we add another 5 trains to begin with, actually, I can increase it from 1100, I can make it to 1300 trips. That will take care of the peak hour congestion problem initially, and another 5 trains can be taken later. So 10 trains will take care, that means about 450 crore. But if we place order today, it will take 2 years actually for the coaches to materialize. This is a thing I have already indicated to the Chief Minister. He is aware of this problem. We are trying to resolve that issue. Today, you've seen the statement. Then, sir, there are also, I fully agree with so far as multimodal integration is concerned. Actually, multimodal integration we are trying to do, but a lot more needs to be done. MMTS, for example, I started MMTS. Unfortunately, railway is not cooperating. They are trying to discourage MMTS. Because the frequency, from earlier it used to be 20 minutes, now it has become 45 minutes or so. So the patronage is not there. And some of the MMTS stations are not accessible properly. For example, High-Tech City Station is a classic example. High-Tech City Station can really take care of the traffic congestion in this Cyberabad area. But unfortunately, there is no proper road. There are issues there.
See, Chennai city is actually trying to do something better.
Yes.
They also have adverse relationship with the government of India, and yet MMTS, I'm told, is transferred to the state.
Sir, what they have done is actually now the Chennai Metro has taken over the
Exactly.
MMTS there.
So if that's possible there, I'm sure railways will cooperate here too.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and a call to action, because everybody, rich or poor, is affected by traffic. I'm sure you all agree. No matter how fanciful your car is or what mode of transport we all use. Unless citizens raise voice collectively and very strongly, this is not going to happen. So this is now, I didn't expect this, but now I'm making a call to action because clearly the response to integration is feeble, bureaucracy is resisting. We are going to mount a massive campaign, citizens campaign in the city about simple transport solutions, low-cost solutions. Every citizen must raise voice. We'll create mechanisms by which our voice is heard. I'm sure at the end of the day, governments and parties care for votes and citizens' voice. I appeal to all of you, in whatever capacity you are, to please lend your voice. Very constructive, very positive, very practical, low cost. We're not asking for thousands of crores money. We're not asking for another 100 kilometers of metro. There's no money for that. We are saying what is available, let's use it better with a little bit of investment here and there. But if you don't have political will and bureaucratic will, if RTC stops integration with metro because RTC MD doesn't like it and we all keep quiet, what is happening? What kind of a state do we live in? If railways think that they don't care about the traffic, their purpose is not to improve our traffic conditions, and we keep quiet, why are we taxpayers? I think we need to raise our voice. Please raise your voice collectively, and we will come before you with a massive campaign. Now I hand over to Bibu on the water supply board.
Sir, before that, I just want to make one mention. For living in cities, all of us paying a heavy price. In fact, 4 years of our precious life we are losing because of the traffic, CO2 emissions and PM2 particles actually, PM2.5 particles actually. That is thing, we are all paying heavy price, we're not realizing. I fully endorse. All of us will have to raise our voice. Unfortunately, what is happening, the minority make a lot of noise actually, which is microscopic minority. The majority of the citizens, we are all keeping quiet because of these things are happening. Politicians respond only to the noises that are being made by majority of people. So all of us need to make noise, as I fully endorse his.
Thank you.
That is what the integration, the UMTA is supposed to achieve, which is a non-starter.
UMTA is unfortunately.
I was part of that some
toothless,
time ago, but Chief Secretary is supposed to be the chairman. May I have that slide on water supply, please? There was a slide, yes. Comparative slide. I was briefly the MD of the HMWSSB. That's how I ventured to dare to speak on water supply. It was long ago. It was 20 years ago I was the MD. So I had the privilege of completing the Krishna project phase 2. When we did that 160 kilometer odd pipeline from Nagarjuna Sagar to Hyderabad, it was considered very costly as compared to the existing water supply sources, the Usman Sagar and the Himayat Sagar, which the water flows by gravity to Asif Nagar, and it is the cost per kiloliter was hardly 25 paisa per kiloliter. The Krishna project at that point in time, in 2005, was because of the 3-stage pumping. It was around 45 rupees per kiloliter. It was considered very costly and power consuming. The government didn't stop at that. They went ahead with the Godavari project, which was even more costly. It was phase 3, yes, and the Godavari phase 1, phase 2, which is in a way put the HMWSSB in an absolute doldrums, because the cost of water generation is very, very high. We are indeed blessed that the per capita, the LPCD is much higher than the other cities. 201 LPCD, lakh per capita, liters per capita per day is a very good, very healthy figure. Of course, there is the leakages, the unrevenue water, which is not very uncommon in most of the major cities. The best example is Singapore, which is, they brought it down to almost 0% of the, of course, they have the stainless steel pipes and very, very high equipment. We don't have the luxury of that. Our pipelines, many of the old city pipelines are laid in the Nizam's area, the Nizam's era. So the cost of water, whereas the supply of water, there are slabs now. There is a telescopic slab where it ranges from 7 rupees per kiloliter for the slums to 22 rupees for the bulk supplies.
It's actually free. Where is that?
There is those who the meter, those who supply. So they have about 10 lakh consumers. No. Up to 20,000 kiloliters per annum is free. Per month. Per month it's free.
I want to pay.
I don't know. I mean, if you're within that bracket, it's.
Exactly.
It's a ridiculous thing that.
That's an anomaly that because we are. I will tell you the slab, actual slab, 0 to 15 kiloliter is 7 rupees for the metered water supply, for those who are metered, which are very few again. 7 per kiloliter for the slums, basically. That is the lowest slab. 16 to 30 is 12 rupees per kiloliter. 31 to 50 is 22 rupees per kiloliter. And 61 to 100 is 27 rupees per kiloliter. At that point, way back in, and this tariff has not been revised since last 14 years. They have been asking, please revise us. In fact, the source of revenue of the water board, 80% of the source, the income comes from 20% of the bulk supplies, the big consumers. If they leave out the 80% who are the common people and don't increase there and target the other bulk suppliers, they can generate a lot of revenue. At a point where YSR was totally against increasing all kinds of taxes and revenue, I could persuade him to revise it 3 times by showing him this figure. It won't affect the 95% of the people for water supply. So there is a mismatch between the generation cost and supply cost, which needs to be addressed. Look at Visvesvaraya's ingenious plan of supplying water from the Usman Sagar and Himayat Sagar, and today's highly cost-oriented, cost-intensive costs of getting from Godavari. That's about it about water supply. But we are really blessed and lucky that we have enough water available.
No, first of all, thank you. All of you have done a great job. As I mentioned, Hyderabad is very blessed. There's no other city in India like Hyderabad in terms of water supply. But we're messing up. And Bibu is ancient. There is now practically no tariff for most of the individual consumers.
That was an aberration. This 20,000 was an aberration introduced some 5 years ago.
But that's the reality today. But anyway, I'm glad that you raised the issue of tariffs and cost recovery. Okay, Ramesh, next session is supposed to be on. We'll talk to you. I take liberty in telling you. We'll talk later. There's no time. Last slide. We'll close this. Last slide. Just to round up. Next one. Yeah. So basically, we discussed sound fiscal management. There is a crisis, but it can be addressed by prudence without serious political cost. Don't ask the impossible from the politicians. And more important, low cost, high impact investments, education, water supply, transportation, other areas where already investments are made a bit of money, you get much more outcomes for the people, much more value. If we don't focus on that and spend more money, we're going to get deeper into the debt trap. With this, thank you. And I'm sorry I had to be a little abrupt because time is a tyrant, as I said. I don't create time. And I was given a very difficult task by Anil and Gopal to manage time. I told them I'll be very tough. I have to be. Doesn't matter who the people involved are. We have to be tough because time is the most important asset. In our country, we ignore it. We meander, we waste time, we digress. That's why I have to be a little firm. Thank you. Next session. May I request Mr. Ramakrishna, who are the other people? Janardhan Reddy, Dr. Janardhan Reddy and Ajay Kala.
But tell me, this dialogue and governance is a very good initiative. You must have a dialogue with the government also. This body. No, not sincere, but with the government.
Promise you will follow.
Yeah,
Each of
you
these
should
things.
follow it up.
So that carefully chosen.
I think this will be the answer. Okay, bye.
Ajay. We are, I think, 40 minutes late, but we'll try and utilize the time and expertise of the brilliant panelists available here. This is about enabling inclusive and investment-led growth. We require high growth, we require sustainable growth, we require inclusive growth. The challenge of India today is how do you make sure that the growth touches the majority of people, otherwise growth will be stopped. Otherwise people will vote against growth. We are a political democracy. So our pursuing growth that touches only 20-30% people simply is not enough. So the focus is not only on growth, but how to make it inclusive in a practical manner. Again, a few areas, there's so much more. Just, these are all about indicative, not exhaustive, illustrative, not exhaustive. So, let's start off. Next slide, please. Next slide. The first point I want to take up is, Hyderabad is good. We discussed some of the problems and some of the opportunities of Hyderabad. But unless small towns also are allowed to grow and a conscious effort is made at a low cost, there will be a tremendous political and social challenge. We all understand it, but just to be able to focus on key issues. Telangana is much more urban because of Hyderabad city. Still, you have 51% in rural areas. India, 65%. Our idea of urbanization is expanding Hyderabad indefinitely. Concentric circles. Ultimately, you might make the whole of Telangana into Hyderabad city. That's not a practical model. 47% of the workers in the state still depend on agriculture as their primary source of livelihood. This was actually quite surprising to me. I thought Telangana number would be lower because of the Hyderabad city. Evidently, it's not. And these are all authoritative data, but if there's some error in the data, we can correct it always. Like the rest of India, 90% of the workers are in the unorganized sector, without a secure monthly wage, earning a very precarious livelihood. This is the reality of India. Now, unless the bulk of them feel that their lives are going to be improved, we are going to have a serious problem politically and socially. And you can see the electoral convulsions all over the country when the people don't feel included. While big city, I live in this city, we all live in this city, we are proud of this city, we want to improve the city. It's not at the cost of the big city. But if you expect the poor, low-skilled, low-wage people to come to big city, the income is inadequate. 20,000 per month is what we pay to most of them. Some don't even earn that much, which is nothing here. Their housing, their commute 10-15 kilometers, and other needs. And almost all of them come alone. They can't even afford to come with a couple or their family. Alienation, because there's no support system. Their friends and family and network is not there. Urban congestion, we're adding to the congestion. Long commutes, 10-15 kilometers. One day you don't have work, you are starving. One day you are sick, it's a catastrophe. So there is a human tragedy apart from the overall decline in economic growth. So unless we create jobs locally, low-end jobs, it will be a tragedy for this country. Trust me, we are all oblivious to it. This powder keg, we are on a powder keg. There's a tremendous danger that is facing our polity and society. Whereas in a small town, now you have electricity. We didn't have 20-30 years ago. Even in Hyderabad, there was no electricity 20-30 years ago. This kind of a convention, there would have been 5 times electrical failure. But now even in villages, by and large, most of the time electricity is there. And that's one thing the governments have done over the years. Whatever we complain about them, some good work is done. Mobile phones, At least government has allowed them to happen. Otherwise, we were telephones 30 years ago. Now every village has telephonic connection. Digital network is available practically everywhere. Television is available. And roads have improved. They still need to be improved. So India of today is not the same as India of 30 years ago, let alone 70 years ago. We are oblivious to that in our understanding. I remember when NTR called NRIs in the 80s to come and invest here, one of them established a factory somewhere near Adilabad. With tears he told me, sir, my office is in Hyderabad, marketing and other purposes. Factory is in Adilabad. There's no telephone. And to make a phone call to convey a message or get a reply, it takes days. A person has to go all the way. I'm regretting why I have come, because there's no telephone. Things were that bad. Today we are vastly better. And small towns, even 20,000 is a good income. Social ties are there. Urban-rural network is there. In situ urbanization. You're not dislocated from your natural habitat. Within 5-10 kilometers, there's a small town. You can be in the village and go there, or you can live in the town and take care of everything, but also take care of the village needs. No, it's a harmonious thing. We require small town growth in addition to big cities. This is ignored in the country. You don't require to spend much money. Next slide, please. All you require is town planning for small towns. No cost. It's just your regulatory job. Quality drinking water, stormwater drainage. You are supposed to be doing that. Transport networks. Most important is transport. Private investment automatically will come. Even education, we are giving up on government. Who is bothered about government anyway? We discussed how perilous education is. So education, healthcare, recreation, housing and house sites, everybody is real estate agents. So people will come. So once the government does its job, it becomes an economic hub. Rest of it, private sector will take care. And labor-intensive growth. You create a framework, change labor policies. There's a labor code now at the national level. They're trying to integrate everything. The states are free to adopt that. And the state can adopt that and perhaps even improve that. Government of India, I'm sure, will support it if only you bring some sanity to labor laws. Skill development, land availability, and labor reforms. Once you do that, tremendous possibilities are there. Next slide, please. Where are you going back? Go forward. Next slide. Oh, yeah. There are 3 examples. One of them is here. One of my heroes. The reason why is here, I'll tell you. Mr. Ramakrishna will tell his story briefly, tell you how successful it can be. But Brandix, some of you might have heard Achutapuram near Anakapalli, a Sri Lankan company, garments, 22,000 workers are there in every single village. 600 villages in a circumference of about in a radius of 50-60 kilometers. There is not a woman who is not employed if she is willing to work. They actually don't dislocate them. They ferry them by buses every day. They give them a decent wage. They have dignity. They have health coverage. There's a creche to take care of the children. And they're not dislocated from the family. You know, the only request they're making when I ask them, what do you want? So traffic congestion is a problem because we have to ferry people. When the shifts are changing, the roads are not able to accommodate. A flyover they planned for a long time, sanctioned, but it's not executed. They're saying government is not doing its job. 22,000 people are employed. Apache established a footwear company in leather goods thing near Tada. Nellore, ఇప్పుడు ఈ జిల్లా నాకు తెలియదు మరి జిల్లాలు మారిపోయినాయి కదా బట్ ఓల్డ్ నెల్లూరు జిల్లా అంతా పాతవాడిని నేను వెంకటగిరి తడా మధ్య 12,500 people are working. Tirupati district. Yeah. 12,500 people are working and they will take another 5,000. You know what they're asking for? Sir, because people are now congregating in large numbers, occasionally some scuffles are there, we require a police outpost or a police station. It's your job. That's the only reason why government is created, to take care of law and order. And they're saying, we will build a hospital, we require some land, please allocate a bit of land, we'll build a hospital. This is all the government has to do. Town planning, encourage these industries, make it labor intensive and liberate labor laws, minimal infrastructure and do your job reasonably well, not greatly. At least have a police station when there are problems. Mr. Ramakrishna will now explain to us why it is so easy and what is done is phenomenal.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ramakrishna. I've been in the industry for the last 47 years. I was into pharma business, I was into engineering industry and IT industry. I'm from a village in Guntur district, Anamata. Kavurani, Raipal Taluka village. నాకు రోజు ఉద్యోగాల కోసం ఎవరో ఒకళ్ళు వస్తుంటారు, పీపుల్ జాబ్ కోసం ఎవరో వస్తుంటారు. ఇన్ సిటీస్ వి ఫైండ్ టుడే ఆల్ ద కంపెనీస్ టుడే హూ ఆర్ ద పీపుల్ వర్కింగ్ హియర్. I'm sure all of you agree, 75% of the people coming from the villages and working here today. Only 25%, less than 25% working from city. Why are they coming to Hyderabad? Because there's no opportunity there. So all these years, so many people are coming for jobs. Every day I get some people for jobs. I thought, why not we provide opportunity? Of course, fortunately, during this internet age, it's easier to provide an opportunity there. We can create a facility there. Earlier, creating industry, it's a big issue. Today, internet is there, mobile phones are there. Only thing is we need to create infrastructure, little infrastructure and computers. It's not a big thing. And I thought, I've been doing business with American companies, all healthcare services, or 100% of business we are doing with American market today. And we are able to train them in Hyderabad and do the business with them. I thought, why not? Initially, I started in my village. Now today I have about 250 people working there. See, mostly intermediate people and graduates, ordinary graduates are there. So for example, some of the jobs we cannot pay them more salaries also, maybe starting with 10,000, 15,000 salaries. How do you expect them to survive in Hyderabad at 10,000, 15,000? For example, you have an office in Panjagutta. Somebody with 15,000 rupees salary, where is he going to stay? He has to stay at least 25, 30 kilometers away from the city. He cannot stay in Srinagar Colony or Amirpet. I'm sure if somebody wants to stay in Srinagar Colony, unless he gets about 60, 70,000, he cannot even stay there. He has to stay at 25 kilometers, 30 kilometers away. And half of his life, 3 to 4 hours, he is spending on traveling. And again, housing. They cannot just survive today. In village, if you're paying even 10,000 start salary, they're able to come from their home. I'll tell you my experience in the village today. In city, and they are more committed because they feel that their own company, the belongingness, because the consistency, they are working there, and efficiency is more, productivity is more. I'm able to produce more jobs there than here actually. The productivity is very high there. And continuity in the company. Quality of the job is going up.
Profitability is high because the costs are less.
Yes, sir. And add to this, rental place. Fortunately for me, in my village, there's one Kalyan Mandapam. At least I started utilizing. I just pay about 20,000 rupees rent, about 5,000 square feet. And same 5,000 square feet, I'm sure you have to pay at least 5 lakhs rupees minimum here. That itself is a profit for the company. That 4 lakhs itself is a profit for the company for a month, basically, and all. And today, the people there, they're more committed. And city, every day they keep, of course, you can't blame them. Everybody wants a better job, better salary. They keep looking for better alternatives, better jobs and all. Consistency is not there, and productivity is not there. And in the village, again, as I was telling you, I have, now in my village, there are 250 people, company working. In my village, there are only about 60 people from my village. What would have happened to the 60 people if this is not there? They would have migrated to some other places, and the village would have got. And village today, I tell you, the people today, they're able to stay there. They're able to take care of their parents, and many of the people, including they're taking care of their agriculture. వ్యవసాయం కూడా చూసుకుంటున్నారు అంటాను. ఆ విధంగా I think if everybody thinks like that, there are many opportunities in village. You did not go to real village. I think in Telangana, you can go to Warangal, you can go to Karimnagar, you can go to Mahbub Nagar. And people can start industry today and all. There's opportunities there. And not only that, when I started, first my BPO was in 98, I started. In 98 itself, I started first home-based concept. I started in 98 itself and all. I was the first person to start this home-based concept. Even today, 50% of my people work from home today. I encourage people to work from, particularly its advantages for the ladies.
Was anything else I can't.
Thank you. Just to show a successful example. So it's not something which is charity. He started as a public service. What I liked about the story is that what is public service became actually a profitable venture. It's a smart enterprise. I think the government must aggressively focus on that without undermining Hyderabad. Will always, Professor Balkrishna Reddy can only be here. A film director can only be here. High level of expertise can only be in a big city. But there are a lot of jobs which can be created locally, harmoniously, with in situ urbanization, with sensible kind of a social and economic growth. That is the plea. And the government must, there's hardly any amount required. Small amounts, which anyway they're spending on all kinds of development activities. If they structure it properly, private sector will come in and huge employment can be created. That's the basic idea. The next issue, land reforms. Next slide, please. So there's nothing much we have to say, because Ajay is an expert on the subject. He has done remarkable work in this field. Now, ease of doing business, labor laws can be simplified to the extent possible, or we stick to the old orthodoxy and make it impossible. If China is exporting $325 billion worth of garments and textiles, they're 5 times our GDP and 5 times our per capita income, high up in the value chain, and yet they're producing and exporting $325 billion of garments. And we produce the same amount of cotton, we are exporting $30 billion, $35 billion. We require desperately labor-intensive industry. So labor laws and local infrastructure, land titles, availability of land for industrial purpose, simple, practical things. And then contract enforcement. And a bit of dispute resolution instead of forcing us to go to Gondas to dispense justice. I'm not even talking of rule of law. That's a very big thing. I've written a whole report on rule of law and what needs to be done in the Administrative Reforms Commission. That I don't think any government has the will or the capacity right now. But these simple things, at least the nine economic growth, low-hanging fruit, can we make it happen? So over to you, Ajay.
On land, majority of us are not aware that we have no ownership on any of the building or land that we stay here or where we have documents. We believe that it is ours, that we don't have ownership, we don't have a title. You have a document called a registration document, which is basically a transactional evidence, nothing more. Permanent titles are missing in this country, whereas almost more than 90% of the countries, they do have permanent titles. Once you have a permanent title, obviously there will be no litigation. Litigation, if you look at a country like US, a country like Australia, civil litigation, less than 3% relates to land. Whereas in this country, more than 70% of the litigation basically on land, because we don't have the titles. Historically, the land belongs to the sovereign. And we have not enacted, any laws giving ownerships. Instead, we brought record of rights. Certain rights we have been giving to the people. So, we need to pressurize the governments to bring out the law of, basically titling, which empowers and then gives a permanent title to the piece of land, be it is agricultural land or urban land. Agricultural land, at least you have a record of right. You have a passbook or something. In city, in urban area, you don't even have that. Absolutely nothing except a registration document which doesn't give you ownership, or basically, as I mentioned, it doesn't give you anything. I can register a Charminar or anything, by going to the sub-registrar and all. So that is something which is very essential. To do that, a resurvey is essential, but some kind of, a unknown fear is holding us back to take up a large-scale resurvey. And today, resurvey is so simple because the technology is so good. You can do it in no time. Basically, A city like Hyderabad can be completely resurveyed in less than 6 months using now the high-tech drones and things like that. Perfectly ensure, what I can say, mark the possessions, perfectly fix the boundaries, verify the documents and give titles by bringing an enactment. That will tremendously reduce our litigation, our time and effort, give tremendous security, and also give confidence to the investors, whether they come from outside or whatever it is. One of the main complaints they make is that the land title is not clear in this country. Even after constructing a factory and running it for 20 years, somebody else comes and then files a litigation in a court. Then I need to continue the litigation. And the litigation also ensures other problems like, basically bank finances and various other things also, because mortgage issues, etc. come. All that basically is an issue. That's why in ease of doing business, always, at the national level also, this is kept as a priority. So once you resurvey, fix your boundaries, find out the correct position, and go back to the documents and verify. Then after, you issue notices or whatever it is, legally all those can be done, and then finally declare a permanent title, give a title which is undisputable. No civil court can take cognizance of it. Only for doing it, the only resistance group that will be there is basically lawyer group, because their business will go down. They will obviously go on, petitioning and then complaining and all. Otherwise, it is possible, it's practicable. In Andhra, in less than 2 years, we completed more than 6,000 villages resurvey. I think another 3,000 or 4,000 are added, probably one more year. And the entire resurvey of Andhra Pradesh, including urban areas, are going to be completed. So, we brought an act, okay, it became a political issue and all. But once a resurvey is done, records are made pakka. Any time we can bring out an enactment and then convert them into a permanent title, so that forever we are free of civil litigation and things like that, ownership. That is very essential to give security. That is very essential for putting in investments and things like that.
We will go back to Ajay on another issue, but in British India, every 30 years there was a regular, what we call settlement process. Very high senior official was appointed to take care of settlement, and all land was surveyed and all ownership was once again verified and changes were incorporated and established. Post-independence, there is not a single state in India where we did a single settlement of that kind. We call ourselves independent India. Telangana was unfortunate because under Nizam's regime, they didn't do a proper survey ever. They only surveyed private lands. Whatever is left, they said government land. Sometimes on map it will be 1,000 acres. In reality, there's none. Sometimes on map there's none. There's a lot of land available. So maps are very bad because unlike British India, which followed what was that called? Great trigonometric stations, and they limited the errors to the boundaries of a village, whereas here cumulative errors multiplied. So there's a problem. But we can easily do it with today's technology. If the British could do it with the primitive technology, in primitive circumstances, no electricity, no transport, no road, no nothing. Today with GPS and 100 other things, it's child's play, very low cost. I think we should look at that. For instance, urban management, I'll request later Janardhan to make his contribution. A simple contour survey at a low cost and building all infrastructure as per contours. There's your water supply, your stormwater drain, your sewers. London City had contour survey done 400 years ago. Even today, we don't have a proper contour map for the city. It costs maybe 10 crores for the whole city, maybe 20 crores, peanuts. It's not even 10 minutes government expenditure. So money is not a problem. The government must rediscover its main purpose for which it was created. We have forgotten that. And we are lamenting all the time, no resources, no money, AO, all the time. So the idea of today's discussion is, how do we find sensible objectives which are relevant to people's lives at a low cost, which will also enhance economic growth in an inclusive manner? In that spirit, let me present to you one example of what can be done at a very low cost. Then I'll request Mr. Janardhan Reddy, and later I'll come back to Ajay about agriculture. Okay. Next slide, please. Are we going to land is our next? We'll come to it later. That's Janardhan's domain. Rule of law, yes. We all know about the courts in this country. Now, we can't transform it overnight, but there is a low-hanging fruit, a simple, relatively easy thing which will give significant relief. These are the numbers on the right side, the pendency. Civil cases, today 3,38,000 cases, and criminal 5,52,000 cases, something. So together 9 lakh cases pending in Telangana. Many of them for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. 60% cases are so above 1 year. Whereas, if you take annual institution of cases and disposal, we are probably at 85, 90%. But we are adding always. And the cumulative burden is killing us. Some people say 264 is it will take to dispose of cases. They're talking rubbish. They just don't have any understanding of numbers. We can do it in a very short span of time. It's just that we have to clean it up. But I don't want to go into that now. I'm not talking of a simple, low-hanging fruit. Next one, please. There is a law called Gram Nyaya Act, enacted in 2009. Actually, a lot of us from Andhra Pradesh at the time, combined Andhra Pradesh, we drafted it, a lot of experts looked at it, then we pushed it at the national level, and the law happened. They should have made it for the whole country, but they made it for rural areas. But the law is a good law. Summary procedure, simple, local, in the people's language. They don't have to follow any procedure established by law except the principles of natural justice. But these are not some Solomon's courts. These are regular courts with their first-class magistrates' powers, appointed in consultation with the High Court and directly under the control of the High Court. So they are not some voodoo courts or caste panchayats or khap panchayats or something. These are regular courts. World over we have, America has people's courts. Britain has justices of peace and criminal justice system. There are other courts. World over they have it. These are for the small cases. About 70 to 80% cases are the small cases. Less than 1 year's imprisonment or less than 3 years imprisonment provided, but in reality we don't go out more than 1 year imprisonment. So this court is about 1 year's imprisonment and up to 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs civil disputes. With a provision for appeal if necessary, but summary. The law is already existing, a sound law. If only we adapt it to urban areas and tweak it a little bit to give special orientation to women's safety and things like that, because there is an increasing concern about women's safety in urban areas. No, not merely the society responds when there is a massive offense, like a gang rape and murder. But every day, women in this country are subjected to unending humiliations, catcalling, eve-teasing, all kinds of stuff. They're not big enough to attract our attention. They're not small enough to ignore it. Women simply are brushing aside. We can actually use these courts to impose a small penalty, but give a system quickly within 2 days, 3 days, or 3 days. So we can give that orientation, but basically address the large number of cases very quickly, locally, at very little expense. That is the idea. The law already exists. If you create, let's say for every assembly segment, 2 such courts, it will cost you only 80 to 90 crores. Peanuts. Let me remind you again, Telangana government is spending 850 crore rupees a day. Don't ask me where or how. 850 crores a day. 1/10 of it can render justice in 2/3 of the cases in the state at doorstep at relatively no cost. 1/10 of 1 day's expenditure. You can't have more low-hanging fruit. The law exists already, but we are blind to what is available to us. You tell them about a 1 lakh crore fancy project, they'll jump at it because now it's all about zeros. We invented zero in this country. The more zeros, the more attracted we are. No country is so insane about public expenditure. China, much richer than us. America, If you talk about 20,000 crore, 50,000 crore investment, they're very, very conscious. In India, we talk loosely about another 1 lakh crores. Reality check. Wake up. Money is the people's money, tax money. In return, people must get valuable service. It's not for you to be profligate like a Zamindar or a Nizam. Use the money wisely and give us the basic services for which the government is created. Otherwise, we have to go to Gundas or suffer injustice silently. So low-hanging fruit, because we're talking about governance improvement, and it has tremendous consequences once this happens. Next, please. Go on. Can we come to this last? Because I'll go back to Ajay on this. Supply retail chains, Ajay. Just be prepared for that. Okay? So go to urban thing. Ward committees, etc. Yeah. The Constitution under Article 243S provides for constitutional ward committees. There shall be, but like so many good things, it's never implemented. It's unconstitutional. But there are so many unconstitutional things governments do, I don't have the stomach to fight on every issue. So all we're proposing is what is the constitutionally intended, though the constitutional amendment is horrible, well-meaning but terrible amendment without empowerment. At least this is one good feature. If you elect one man and one woman for every 2 polling booths, typically in a ward there will be, let's say, about 60 polling booths on average. About 60 or so polling booths. Maybe even 30 polling booths, I think. Actually, there will be 30 polling booths in our 4,500 or so polling booths in the city, 150 wards, about 30 polling booths. 15 units of 2 polling booths each, so that 50-50 men and women. You elect 2 people for each unit. So there are 30 people, 15 men local, non-party. So there's no fear. Jubilee is like 100 కోట్లు ఖర్చు పెట్టాలి గొడవ లేకుండా. You'll make it non-party. You give them powers to spend some limited amount. Let's say the Union Finance Commission is giving grants to the, earlier Ajay mentioned Finance Commission devolution. In addition to devolution, they are also giving significant grants. Annually, they're giving something like 80,000, 70,000 crores to local governments, directly from the union government. It comes to 500 rupees per capita. Of the 500 rupees, 1/3 you give to ward committees, rest of it you spend in the corporation. And in your revenues, municipal revenues, you give 25% to this ward committee. All local problems you tell me, you don't come to me hereafter. You have the power, you take care of them. For each ward, you create a small office, a building, it's not a big deal. Let's leave it to them. And if they mismanage, you can always monitor. Anyway, it can't be worse than the mismanagement at the higher levels. Citizens' participation will be there. Instead of complaining and going to municipal commissioner, Janardhan was municipal commissioner, the number of people who queue in front of his office with their grievances, which he can't address for a 1 crore city. 1 crore we're talking about local government, but 1 crore is bigger than 80% of the countries in the world. So you can't handle from there, however good you are as a commissioner. So unless you localize and hand over responsibility to manage the affairs, leadership will not grow, responsibility will not come, prudent use of resources will not happen, and the problems will not be solved locally. So you can give immense satisfaction locally, no extra cost. Whatever you're spending at different level, giving the authority, you monitor it, rather than you control it and mess up everything. The law is already there. Constitution makes it mandatory, which you are violating. The low-hanging fruit again. In case of local courts, there is a law existing. We are ignoring. In case of ward committees, there is a constitutional provision makes it mandatory. We are ignoring. Whatever is good, we ignore. Whatever is bad, we embrace. We can't call it good governance if we keep on embracing bad things all the time. So, Janardhan, on this and other issues, simple low-hanging fruit in urban management.
Thank you, sir. Sometimes when you work for longer time in a particular area and gain a lot of experience, you will be limited in thinking. So I am suffering from that. Excuse me for that. Because for 12 years I worked in urban administration as APUSP director, mission director for MEPMA, and then reforms director. Then I was mayor in charge for Suryapet some 30-40 years back, small town, for Anantapur, big town. Because elections were not there, officers are also mayors. And Hyderabad also. There was no mayor when I joined as commissioner. I was mayor cum commissioner. and I was Metropolitan Water Board MD also, HMD also. I completed a full circle. I stopped thinking whether it is possible to restrict the migration from rural to urban. Sir, because recently there was an article in Economic Times, you would have also read, all of you have read. In USA, 1.3% of the population is engaged in agriculture. They are producing self-sufficient and they are fighting with us to accept their exports. That is the situation. In the world, it is 26% of the people are doing agriculture. But in India, 45% of the people are in agriculture. Africa also 45% in agriculture. Within India, highest percentage of agriculture in Bihar. So in one sentence, wherever more number of people are in agriculture, it is more poor. That is number one thing. And cities are growing. And the whole world, 57% of the population is in cities, average. And advanced countries, it is around 98%. And in India, it is around 30, 33, they say. But definition also, there is a problem. And in Telangana, it is around 48, 50%. And most of the cities. The urbanization is unstoppable, first statement. Second statement, whether small cities are better, small towns are better, whether they should be empowered. Yes, definitely. Thanks to COVID, a COVID type of virus comes. If this type of densification, city can be wiped out. If whatever COVID was there, if it comes with 10 times more virulence and its morbidity and mortality is high, Hyderabad can be wiped out in 24 hours. So, but if Hyderabad type of small towns are there, 100, it is easy to contain. So, how do you build the wall between the villages and the towns and towns to cities? It is unstoppable. According to me, it is unstoppable. We have to only now manage. So small cities or big cities, people are coming to cities. That is about the cities. In the whole world, it has happened. Here also, it will happen. So that is the first thing. And second thing, these ward committees and all that, any public participation is good. For example, farm laws, wonderful laws, but they were not debated, discussed, and deliberated at all levels. Very beautiful acts after many decades were brought and government had to take it back, not because of the non-merit in it. Merit is there, but it was not taken to the public. Similarly, in Gram Panchayats or cities and urban areas, especially urban areas are very, very fragmented, non-unionized. So any type of committees and public representation is very good. It has to be done. Second is, even if you have committee, 3 days back, I attended a national conference on urban conclave. It is National Urban Conclave conducted by Government of India. The expert assessed that 80 lakh crores requirement at present rate is required for meeting the minimum infrastructure needs in urban areas. One is you give power. They ask, they agitate. You don't have money. One, you need to have that sort of financial resources, number one. And number two, also decentralized. And give them, suppose if you have only, they ask 1 crore, you have only 10 lakhs, but let them prioritize within 10 lakhs whether they want to address these potholes, because a pothole could kill 19 people some days back. So whether they want street lights, whether they want drinking water, whether they want toilets, public toilets there or parks there. That is one thing. So it is definitely the decentralization and empowering and creating more number of participatory bodies. Definitely, I can say it is good. It's not bad. It is easily implementable also. But like many states fight to get a cake from the central government. When local bodies issues come, central government does, no state government wants to give power to any local governments. So power of taxation is not there. Power of collection also is not there, and power of execution also is not there. Then people will suffer ultimately. So that's, I think, 2 points. And then third point, so since I do not know whether that point is there or not, but Gopal Reddy Garu has sent me regarding how to make the investment and how to make it more generating public trust and confidence, and how to make the public investments more productive. Since I also happened, like most of the time I worked in urban, equal amount of time I worked in rural, but mostly agriculture. I was Commissioner Agriculture, Horticulture, Sericulture, Marketing, and Principal Secretary, APC, Horticulture University Vice Chancellor. I am a farmer. Farmer true definition is, there was a debate few days back, who is farmer? Everybody raised hands, but one of them said, if you are doing agriculture, incurring loss, then you are a farmer. But if you are saying only farmer, you are not a farmer. So I am also doing agriculture, incurring losses, and in spite of being a horticulture vice chancellor and all that. So where state can invest in this sector? Sir, I fully agreeing with ward committee and decentralization. Only one point I told is recently in urban conclave, experts estimated that 80 lakh crore is required for infrastructure development in urban areas. One is decentralization, and second is raising the resources also. That's what we said, sir. Then another thing that is little, since you are not there, just I transgressed the state's investment. And in one or two sectors, since I prepared, since I was also Horticulture Commissioner and Vice Chancellor of Horticulture University, Agriculture Production Commissioner, I made a study for horticulture. If you invest 1 rupee in agriculture, you will get 1 rupee 30 paisa. And if you invest 1 rupee in horticulture, you will get 3 rupees to 4 rupees. So where should we invest? We are investing in agriculture, water, canals, reservoirs, paddy, rice, and rice, obesity, diabetes, and drugs. This cycle is going. And where should it go? Why then horticulture?
Then government procurement.
Government procurement and urea subsidy, sir, MSP. And MSP also, and then go down subsidy, everything, where it is not required at national level, state level, huge investment, public money is going. So all of you know, some 1960s and 70s, we were starving. Today we are surplus. India is surplus in food grain, but nutritional balance is not there because we are anemic, we don't have protein, and all that oil seeds, etc. problem is there. Therefore, there is immediate need to shift agriculture from agriculture means paddy type of crops to horticulture because we all need it. We require fruits, we require vegetables, and we require oil seeds and all that. So for that, what government should do? If government invests, the study said, I am not saying, I got a study done by ASCII, sir. They took the help of some experts, a lot.
పాతకాలం నెలకు 500 రూపాయలు బాగా సరిపోతుంది అనుకుంటున్నాను నేను. 30,000 నాకు కొంచెం షాకింగ్గా ఉంది. ఐ హ్యావ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ ఎ లిటిల్ బిట్ బెటర్. సో ఇవన్నీ చేసి వస్తారు. బట్ దే ప్రాబ్లీ కెన్ సెల్ ఆన్ ద డే 30 kgs. అట్లీస్ట్ దే డోంట్ మేక్ 500-600 rupees. pains. Employment grew from 28 million to 65 million. Employment grows. And informal tradesmen will continue. They will not go. But this will grow much faster. Some of them will be converted into these better jobs, high-paying, more dignified jobs, greater security. So when the pathakalapu notions, Luddite antaru. When Industrial Revolution came, obviously the traditional handicrafts lost their business, right? Handlooms, మనం చెప్పినా కూడా handlooms గాంధీ గారి నుంచి చెప్తున్నాం. It's always difficult occupation unless you have a niche market ఉంటే తప్ప. So this Ludd fellow, one fellow called Kevin Ludd, he gathered all the fellow workers of the old occupations which lost employment. He started destroying the machines, hoping that somehow he can stop the technological revolution. Luddism antar. We've all become Luddites. Do you remember 30, 40 years ago, every year, clockwork like, all the bank employees in India Ajay, used to go on strike. Enduku? Computerization apalani. Every single party, to their eternal shame, every single party used to support them. So it is this kind of mentality. When the transition of technology takes place, there are going to be some losers. We have to figure out how to help them. But if you stop that, the country is a loser. Every youngster is a loser. Now, because the rest of India is stupid, Telangana can be smart. You can be first mover in the country. Make Hyderabad the hub. Policy already exists. Just open it up. Retail trade. Next slide, please. We'll take that slide also and then give it to Ajay. Then maybe 1 minute conclusion. Next. So, if you leverage Hyderabad's infrastructure, despite all the political and other problems, we can be proud of this city. Outside of Delhi, which is national capital, has a natural advantage, there's no other city with the kind of infrastructure that we built. Successive governments, all of them deserve credit. And unlike many other states, each government built on the earlier government's work. They may have taken credit. They have done actually even more. That kind of a competition, that kind of coordination is very good. But if you don't leverage, as we've already seen in areas where, for instance, investment is made, but we're not getting productivity out of that because of our stupidity. Attract industrial clusters on outer ring road. There's no city in India, to my knowledge, where something like our ORR is there.
I think in the world, it is one of the top 5.
In the world, one of the top 5. But we're not leveraging it. We have silly ideas like ORR parallel metro adda antaru. ORR enduku unda transport kosam undi. Dannu upayoginchu. Danni pakkana corridor plan chesaru. I don't think it's being utilized. Utilize that as attract industrial clusters. Airport connectivity, we have fantastic. I am very proud of our airport. I mean, JMR did it out of passion. Business allow చేస్తారు. But మన state, మన city అని చేశారు. With great pride. It's a great airport. So, gateway for talent and trade, just market it. Metro network. I mean, L&T, they suffered, but they did a great job, and people like NVS did a fantastic job. We already discussed what needs to be done. Focus on quality of life. That's where some of the things that we discussed, they come. Policy environment. I mentioned to you some of them, for instance. This is only illustrative. We can go deeper. There are excellent people here. We can advise us to take it forward. And market positioning as India's most business-friendly city. Business ante booth మాట అని చెప్పి అనుకున్నట్టయితే we are condemning our future to ignominy and poverty. We have to trust business, respect business, legitimate business, not speculation, legitimate business, and position ourselves in that manner. Luckily for us, unluckily for Bengaluru, because infrastructural problems, a great city is becoming less and less attractive. Take advantage. But Chennai is showing some dynamism, their competition. Please, we moved beyond Chennai. Let's continue that edge. There's an opportunity. Before I conclude, just 1 minute later on, Ajay and retail chains in particular, and any other related issues of agriculture.
We always are stuck up with the small and marginal farmers. When we talk about agriculture, we say with 60% are small, marginal, what to do and things like that. But things are changing, which needs the attention of the governments, attention of all of us for structural reforms. I just give my personal example. When I was in 7th class, I'm talking about 60s, early 60s, The lease rates in our village used to be 10 bags per acre paddy. And basically irrigated land and Buckingham Canal and all. Old anicuts. Gradually they went up because, okay, improved varieties have come, various other things had happened. They reached maybe 15 bags per acre, a single crop wetlands. I am telling you in 21, like when the COVID struck, it has come down to 6 bags per acre. These rates did not go up from 15 to 6 bags. Last year, I gave my land per one bag an acre. People are not willing to work in agriculture. Whether, they call it drudgery or whatever it is. Today, people in the village have no passion. They don't want to work in that field. It is a reality. Then I checked up a couple of villages in Telangana. Same problem. Even if you pay 1,000 rupees, they are not willing to come and work. It is a fact. So it's not small marginal and issues. Complete structural reforms are required where we have to go and market those recent enactments brought by the government of India. We have no other alternative except contract, corporate farming and all, which also helps us in subsequent market efforts. Because simple regulation saying that some middlemen are exploiting and all is not going to improve the share of the farmer in consumer's rupee. I studied for 30 years data in Australia for my thesis for MBA on price spreads from 1962 to 1997. They brought in tremendous reforms where they regulated wholesalers' margin and retailers' margin very effectively. They fixed. What is that? 4% margin to wholesaler, 8% margin to retailer, 4% to wholesaler. Anybody charging extra would be immediately prosecuted. So that was all controlled. Even after that, all those reforms, after 30 years, what we found, farmers who are getting 40 cents per dollar in 1962 were getting something like 19 or 20 cents after the reforms. Because the services have become costly and mandatory. That is, they made packing mandatory. It's going to cost. Storage, cold storages, etc. have come. So obviously power charges, they cost. Transportation charges have gone up 10 times, 20 times or 50 times if you look at the world over the years. All these will eat away the margin. It's not that farmer is going to get that margin and all. So therefore, the only option for us is, besides crop planning, Janardhan was talking about horticulture and all. It's not going to solve the problem because my horticulture experience in Hyderabad is, I did not realize my harvesting and transportation costs when I grew moringa and other fruits, papaya, moringa and things like that. Various other factors are there. We need structural reforms. We need to make private people, we enter into a proper laws we need to bring in and contract, corporate, those structures we need. We need to invest in infrastructure, okay, with the proper regulatory mechanisms and all. Then only agriculture will survive. People are moving out of agriculture. In fact, our data saying that still 40-50% are agriculture is not correct. If you go to the villages, in many villages, even 10% are not working in agriculture and things like that. It is a fact of life. So we need accordingly, basically shape our policies and bring out those laws. These are some of the changes which we are not observing, which we are not really bothered about. Second, crop planning anyhow is required through a proper analysis, like a sugar cane. Growing sugar cane in these two states is nothing but a big sin. It is basically, what is the sugar price today?
Guzzling water, eating sugar.
Not only that, sir. What is the sugar cost today? It is less than a kg of rice. How many calories and how much water it takes. This is some ridiculous. A kg of sugar costing less than a kg of rice is something, I mean, intolerable. So why should we grow sugarcane in Telangana or Andhra? Okay, where it is competitive, where it is workable, okay, they produce. So, detailed crop planning is required. It's not that technology is not available. It's not that, basically, scientists are not available. Only somebody need to sit, work, plan and implement without basically loss of time and through persuading farmers and things like that. I don't think farmers will have serious objection. Only lobbyists go on talking about small, marginal and things like that, which basically is not relevant anymore.
Thank you for that very instructive thing, Ajay. I'm glad you mentioned farm laws. Forget politics, which party and all that. The 3 laws that were attempted were excellent laws. They're not enough. I must say it very candidly. What is the first law? Some of you may not be familiar. You only heard the noise, you didn't hear the detail. Essential Commodity Chattam or the Nityavasara Vastuvalu Chattam అని చెప్పని. When I was a child in my village, my grandfather and others, they used to run away when the Tahsildar came to the village. There was something called producer's levy. You cannot sell your own produce. You cannot store your own produce. It was illegal. And you must sell at the price they tell you. That is the law. So what did this law say? We will not apply this law unless there is an emergency. I would have been happy if they said repeal. It's absolutely good for the farmers. What is the second law? Contract farming. What is contract farming? If you are interested, if you want an assured price, you want to decide whether it's worthwhile to raise this crop or not in advance, rather than wait to tomato చూస్తుంటారు కదా ₹10 అయినప్పుడు పాపం ఫార్మర్స్ కన్నీళ్ళు గారుస్తారు, రోడ్డు మీద వారేస్తారు. అలా కాకుండా గ్యారంటీడ్ ప్రైస్ నీకు వచ్చేది నీకు కావాలనుకుంటే ఐఎమ్ విల్లింగ్ టు పే యూ ₹15 a kg. ఇష్టం లేకపోతే వేయద్దు. ఇది వేసేట్టయితే ఐ విల్ గివ్ యూ సపోర్ట్, బట్ యూ ప్లీజ్ సప్లై టు మీ, అదర్వైజ్ ఐ విల్ నాట్ సర్వైవ్. దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ బై మ్యూచువల్ ఫర్ మ్యూచువల్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్. దాన్ని ఆల్రెడీ జరుగుతోంది. దాన్ని సిస్టమటైజ్ చేయడం కోసం. వాట్ ఈస్ రాంగ్ విత్ దట్? మూడోది ఏంటి? ద లా సో ఫార్ సెడ్ యూ షాల్ ఓన్లీ సెల్ ఇన్ ద మార్కెట్ యార్డ్. ఈవెన్ ఇఫ్ యూ డోంట్ సెల్ ఇన్ ద మార్కెట్ యార్డ్, యూ షాల్ పే మార్కెట్ సెస్. ఇలా ఏమైంది? ఇప్పుడు ఎక్కడైనా అమ్ముకోవచ్చు. మార్కెట్ యార్డ్లో కనుక అమ్మితే మార్కెట్ సెస్ పే చేయాలి, లేకపోతే సెస్ పే చేయక్కర్లేదు. ఏ రకంగా ఫార్మర్కి నష్టం? ఎంత అన్యాయం చేసామండి మనం ఈ దేశానికి. What kind of a drama we created at the cost of the farmers of this country, utilizing the very farmers whose lives are at stake. South India lo they were wise people. South India, Western India avaru maatladala. Konni prantallo there are some other forces. We use the farmers' shoulders to destroy the farmers. I'm glad you mentioned the requirement of reform. No, కొంచెం వన్ డే వాకింగ్ కేబీఆర్ పార్క్లో, ఏం సార్ జయప్రకాష్ గారు మీరు ఫార్మర్స్కి వ్యతిరేకంగా మాట్లాడుతున్నారు, ఫార్మ్లో సపోర్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు కాబట్టి పాపం జెన్యూన్ పర్సన్, ఫార్మ్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండే, బట్ నో నథింగ్, ప్యాషనేట్. There is nothing more dangerous than a passionate person who is utterly ignorant. So there is a lot we can do. Einstein said, let's conclude, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing all over again and again and expecting a different outcome. The plea today is there is a way of doing differently and get a different outcome without spending too much money within the political and legal and social constraints. ఎందుకంటే బెటర్ ఫార్ములా ఇవ్వలేం మనం. వీఆర్ నాట్ ఆస్కింగ్ ఫర్ సంథింగ్ అవుట్రీచెస్. రాజ్యాంగాన్ని మార్చేయి, ప్రపంచాన్ని మంత్రం వేసేయి, 1,00,000 కోట్లు తీసుకురాయి మాట్లాడట్లే మనం. సింపుల్ ప్రాక్టికల్ థింగ్స్, wise things, tried and tested things all over. We have to have sharp focus. Today, because time is short, there are 2 ways of conducting. తర్వాత మనం డిస్కస్ చేద్దాం. I'll be available. No, let's not use harsh language. పాపం వాళ్ళ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వాళ్ళకు ఉన్నాయి. ఫార్ములాస్ చూశారు కదా. ఇప్పుడు మనం అందరం, I would say we all failed. When they're doing the right thing by not supporting adequately, we all failed. Governments ultimately they require the votes, they require the public support. In a democratic society, willing consent of the people is what keeps them in power. Not logic, not intelligence, not top management. They're not MBAs. So willing consent కోసం మనం చేయాల్సిన చేయట్లా. Not enough people are talking and raising their voice for the right things. We are talking rubbish. Let me be blunt. మనం blame చేస్తున్నాం. మన గురించి మనం blame చేసుకోవాలి. We are talking rubbish most of the time. Uninformed, unintelligent, irrational discourse. Or we are silent when we are required to raise the voice to support the right thing. So వాళ్ళని తిట్టే ముందు మనం తిట్టుకుందాం. I believe the blame lies with us, at least the enlightened sections, the people who have influence. Influence I can't expect ordinary poor people in India to raise their voice or understand these issues. So let's not politicize the issue. Politicians bash cheyadam chaala telika. Papa valandariki favorite hobby horse desalo. Judges tirtaru alni, bureaucrats tirtaru, manam tirtam. Endadi ఒకసారి ఎలక్షన్కి వెళ్ళి 1000 కోట్లు సంపాదిస్తే 1000 ఓట్లు సంపాదిస్తే అర్థమవుతుంది. 1000 కోట్లు కాదు, 1000 ఓట్లు సంపాదిస్తే 1000 ఓట్లు సంపాదిస్తే అర్థమవుతుంది ఆ కష్టం ఏంటో. So we are in a democracy. But within that, that's why the whole discussion is not about bashing politicians. Within the democratic constraints, what can be done relatively easily to lift ourselves out of this mire, this poverty? That's the idea. That's why sharp focus is required. So if I am very sharp about time management, please forgive me, because time you and I cannot control. We can discuss the same thing for several hours and then go away meandering without any purpose. We can have a sharp focused discussion. At least hope some things will stick and we can follow up. Lincoln never adigata. Sir, function Ramesh ni maadutanu cheppaga. Lincoln never adigata. 5 నిమిషాలు ఉండి ఒక ఇనాగరేషన్ రావాలని చెప్పాను. 5 minutes అంటే చాలా కష్టమయ్యా. 5 minutes స్పీచ్ కోసం చాలా ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వాలి, కొన్ని గంటలు ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వాలన్నట్టు. లేదంటే పావు గంట అయితే మాట్లాడినట్టు, దానికి కూడా కొంత టైం పడుతుంది అన్నట్టు. గంట టైం ఉందండి అంటే వాడు వచ్చేస్తారన్నట్టు. So to make it sharp requires enormous preparation. I'm proud of my team which did remarkable work. You can see the quality of presentation, the evidence, the logic and the synthesis. Not that we are masters of everything, but no, wisdom of everybody. Take it and try to find a direction. And you can find a better direction tomorrow. My appeal is in public discourse, we must bring some discipline and logic and evidence-based approach and a synthesis and a solution. Somebody said, I'm an incorrigible optimist. I don't regret that. I don't owe any apology. I feel proud about that. I think we require optimism. We can make great things happen. And these are only illustrative. People in government are not monsters. They are like you and I. So if we sit with them and give a constructive solution, I'm sure they'll be willing to do at least some of them. Some of them may not be feasible for them. But half of them, if they start doing, the progress will be phenomenal. But structural, strategic. No, not some micro enterprises, micromanagement. That's no good. Some strategic approach. That's required. Last slide, please. With that quote, we'll conclude. I'm very fond of that quote. Margaret Mead, a great anthropologist, said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has, it being a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens. That's what we are here. So don't doubt our capacity to change things. Don't accept status quo. Don't find silly excuses to perpetuate status quo. That's all I appeal to you. Let's explore any number of ideas. Some of them will discard them. But the idea of status quo is not an option. The idea of not learning lessons from the past mistakes is not an option. With these words, Ramesh, I'll also bring Ajay and others will discuss. Because dinner time అయిపోతుంది. ఇంకో మినిట్ అడుగుతారు. డయాబెటిక్స్ భోజనం కోసం వెయిట్ చేస్తారు. నెక్స్ట్ టైం మీటింగ్ రా అంటారు. ఓకే, రమేష్ is an old friend. I can't say no word.
Good morning, good evening, all of you. The most important topic, that is dialogue on governance, has commenced, but we are missing many things. What is most important is, in Telugu we say Prajaswamyam. Where is Prajaswamalu? Where are they? Prajaswamyam antam prajalu ekkada swamulu? This is where we are. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. No interference, please. Prajaswamyam ante prajalu swamulu. What is important is, you people have highlighted inclusive growth. Without inclusive growth, no nation has survived. India is no exception. This is first thing. Second thing, we are still continuing with British legacy. All the designations are British legacy. For example, collector. Jilla Pradhana Praja Seva Kante
Ramesh, we run out of 30 seconds, we run out of 5 seconds.
See, these are very important for change. People's governance, and people should be having importance. But we make people run from pillar to post in offices. What is the respect we are giving?
I'm completely with you. We'll take up local
This is the only thing I wanted to add.
Thank you. I'm a great fan of local governance. Thank you all, and we can conclude. I don't think any formal vote of thanks is required. Thank you for the participation. Thank you for your patience, all of you.
No. I request. Not from my side, sir. I just request Mr. Venkat Gonareddy Garu, Chairman TDF, to just conclude.
One sentence. Andarki thanks once a minute. Andar peri joddu. People who tested the patience of the people.
I don't know why I'm called on to dance to say something about it. Thank you all for participating in this wonderful dialogue on governance. Most of the participants and delegates who have participated here have been enlightened with the speeches and the insights given by the speakers in all these sessions. But one thing I would like to tell, because I'm a teacher, జయప్రకాష్ నాథ్ గారితో నాకు ఇదే తంట. తను ఈనాడులో ప్రతిధ్వని ప్రోగ్రాంలో ఉన్నప్పటి నుంచి నాకు వారికి ఇదే గొడవ. సరే, ఏకవాక్యంగా చెప్తున్నా నేను. మాటలు కాదు, చేతుల్లో చేద్దాం మనం. ఇంతకుముందు ఏబీసీ రెడ్డి గారు చెప్పారు. ఒక మాట మేము అర్థం అనుకున్నాను నేను. ప్రైవేట్ వెహికల్స్ అన్ని కూడా పార్క్ చేస్తున్నాయి అన్నారు. దానివల్ల ఒక ట్రాఫిక్ కంజెషన్ అవుతుందన్నారు మీరు. Are we able to provide them a space where they can park their vehicles? This is also a mistake on the part of the government. ఈ విధంగా ఏమంటానంటే, we are trying to find fault with all the people there. But there lies a problem with the governance itself. So we need to change the way we govern. కాబట్టి గవర్నెన్స్ లో మార్పులు రావాలి, అది డెమోక్రటిక్ గా రావాలి, అందరికి కూడా ఈక్వల్ గా ఈక్వబుల్ గా ఈ బెనిఫిట్స్ అనేది తీసుకోవాలనేటువంటి కూడా మేము కోరుకుంటాం. దట్స్ వాట్ యూ జస్ట్ వాంట్ టు సే. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ. ఓన్లీ వన్ వర్డ్. విత్తు ముందో చెట్టు ముందో ఎప్పుడు సమస్య ఉంటుంది. Somewhere we must begin. There's no perfection possible, trust me. No great achiever said, let everything else happen, then it will. No. You start something, it may not yield 100% dividends. People who built institutions and achieved great results, start something sensible, tangible, practical. It opens many more doors. Vittumunda chettumunda led. Edi badite adi ekkada veluntadi. Whatever the context offers you, let us do it. We don't have the luxury of deciding what you want to do at a point of time. The power of the contest is greater than all of us. We are not that big in changing society. Who are we after all in dealing with 40 million Telangana people or 85 million Telugu people? Or 150 crore, 1.5 billion Indian people? We are puny. But the power of the context and our logical power, learning from past experience and making things happen, opening many more doors. That's the only way forward. Thank you. No more vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Please join cocktails and dinner.